You found the WMIX Saturday Sports Show on AM 940 and WMIXSports.com. Cared for by Crossroads Community Hospital. The Saturday Sports Show has been recognized by the Illinois Broadcasters Association as one of the top radio programs in the state. That means the very best mix of local sports content is right here. From the powerhouse on Broadway, the Saturday Sports Show starts now.
And good morning. It's a special weekend here on the Saturday Sports Show. Chris Hugo with you in studio. Danny Zerwinski, of course, has the day off. And, of course, we'll talk to the Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame class of 2014. That'll be coming up in your 9 o'clock hour. We'll be here until 11 o'clock today. Again, we told you a special weekend, probably my favorite show of the year, in which we talk about the 2014 MVTHS Hall of Fame. Of course, before we get to that, we'll have our normal show, normal type thing from now until 9 o'clock. Of course, we'll talk with Mount Vernon Rams head basketball coach Scott Gamber. Rams had a tough loss last night at home on Hall of Fame night. We'll also talk with DeAirdra Dagg. She is the head coach of the Wayne City Lady Indians. They made an epic, historic run for Wayne City Lady Indians basketball. And, of course, they went to a sectional championship game on Thursday night. You heard it on 94.1. You watched it at WMIXSports.com. And, of course, they lost in overtime to a Goreville Lady Black Cat team that is going to their fourth consecutive Super Sectional. That'll be at Salem on Monday night. We'll also talk with Lady Rams head basketball coach Jeff Lonnon. We'll wrap the Lady Rams season. They had an auspicious year, winning South 7 Conference title, and also, well, a winning season and a South 7 Conference title. You certainly can't beat that in a tough South 7 Conference. Of course, we'll also talk about the upcoming 1A and 2A boys basketball regionals. Of course, we got the 3A and 4A seeds and pairings this week. However, the 1A and 2A actually start the nitty-gritty on Monday, and we'll have the entire Christopher Regional for you on WMIX 94.1 FM and WMIXSports.com, with the exception of Friday night's championship game. That'll be on AM 940 and WMIXSports.com. Of course, last night, busy night of high school basketball. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your high school sports scoreboard from last night from WMIXSports.com. This is the Saturday Sports Show, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Back after this.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
Chrysler continues to raise the bar with huge incentives. Hi, Roy Schmidt, Chrysler dealer at King City Chrysler Center, Mount Vernon. Chrysler is offering a $3,000 rebate on all new 2014 Dodge Avengers, plus an additional $500 when you finance through Chrysler Capital. That's $3,500 in incentives on the all-new 2014 Dodge Avenger. Bring in your trade, even if you owe $9,000 more than it's worth. Our finance department will get to work for you and find the best rate and payment possible. Come talk to one of our sales associates and see how you can drive away in one of our over 25 in-stock 2014 Dodge Avengers. We are at King City Chrysler Center, 1603 Broadway in Mount Vernon, Illinois, or browse our inventory at kingcitychryslercenter.com.
Hi, this is Joe Davey Cummins, President of Community First Bank. Now is a great time to move your account to Community First Bank. With our new One account offering the highest interest rate in the market, free checking, and CD specials delivered by people you know and trust, why would you not bank with the market leader in Jefferson County? We offer 5 locations with 7 ATMs and have been serving the Jefferson County market since 1906. Stop in and see why our bank is the fastest growing bank in Jefferson County. Community First Bank. Welcome back to Personal Banking. Member FDIC.
Touch me, woo. She wants to love me, woo. She'll never leave me, woo. Don't trust her, never trust her, won't trust her.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. We take a look at your South 7 Conference scoreboard from last night. Of course, before we get to that, remind you the Saturday Sports Show is presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Last night's scores from WMIXSports.com. The South 7 Conference, the Mount Vernon Rams fell to Carbondale last night, 75-66. Centralia big over Althoff, 51-38. Cahokia beat Marion, 69-54 at home. In the Midland Trail Conference last night, Sisney over Weber Township, 46-39. It was Odin big over Grayville, 95-55. Wayne City gets a win over Waltonville in a game we'll see Monday night in a regional, 47-31. Woodlawn, Midland Trail Conference champions in the regular season for another year, 82-51 winners over Clay City at home. In the River to River, Mississippi last night, AJ over Sparta, 67-56. It was Carterville, 67, Pinckneyville, 41. Nashville, 40 better than DuQuoin, 76-36. In the River to River, Ohio last night, Benton beats Murfreesboro, edging them, 66-63. Harrisburg over Heron, 62-48. Massac better than West Frankfort, 63-55. Last night. Black Diamond East, it was Carmi-White County over Fairfield, 57-54. El Dorado beat Vienna, 59-50. Johnston City edges Hamilton County, 55-52. BDC West last night, Chester beat Cesar-Valere, 66-59. Ziegler-Royalton, of course, got their 20th win of the year, 70-62 winners over Christopher. And Trico beat Alvarado, 76-31. Apollo play last night, Effingham over Salem, 64-39. It was Mount Zion over Charleston, 74-48. Paris beat Mattoon in overtime, 60-47. Other scores from around the area, of course, in the Cahokia Conference last night, Carlisle beat Redbud 55-40. It was Freeburg over Columbia, 53-48. In the Kaskaskia side of the Cahokia last night, Steelville took overtime to beat New Athen, 73-69. It was Valmeyer over Marissa Coulterville, 57-47. Let's see, what do we want to go with? Let's go with the Mississippi Valley. We'll skip over a few conferences. You can find our entire scoreboard at WMIXsports.com, by the way, but we have plenty more than this. Mascouda beat Waterloo last night, 44-41. Southwestern Conference, Belleville East beat Granite City, 64-65. Collinsville beats Belleville West, 66-59. East St. Louis beats O'Fallon, 61-53. Edwardsville beats Alton, 70-57. Other games from around the area last night. Altamont beat Stu-Strauss 51-39. It was Alton Marquette over Breeze Central 46-43. Cobden beat Polk County 58-37. Dietrich over Cowden Herrick 62-43. Waterloo Jabot all over Lovejoy 65-49. It was Greenville over East Alton Wood River 52-37. Madison just over T-Town 58-57. Mater Dei all over Oakville 51-28. Nokomis beat South Fork 61-44. North Clay edges South Central 37-35. Big win for Ben Farley's club. North Mac over Litchfield, 66-58. Ramsey beats Mulberry Grove, 64-55. St. Elmo Brownstown over Beecher City, 45-32. As Washington, Indiana, the Hatchets beat Mount Carmel last night, 67-61. Windsor beats Cumberland, 59-49. Of course, in the Little Illini, I can't forget that. Some of the area teams there, of course, would be listening this morning. We'll take a look at the LIC from last night. Flora beat Newton, 63-39. It was Olney over Lawrenceville, 59-48. Robinson beat Oblong, 58-35 in a cross-county battle. Girls basketball regional championships last night, Class 3A at Effingham. It was the Lady Hearts over Salem, 43-30. At Springfield, Quincy Notre Dame beat Springfield, 72-54. And at Triad, Civic Memorial beat Highland, 33-29. In a 4A regional championship game last night, Granite City, it was Edwardsville over Alton, 73-41. Plenty more coming up on your Saturday Sports Show. Don't forget our lineup today. We'll talk with Scott Gamber, DeAirdra, Dagg, Jeff Lonnon. We'll also talk to your Hall of Fame class of 2014 between 9 and 11. We'll talk with Mount Vernon Rams basketball coach Keith Law, he of the 1980-81 team. Tim Holloway, of course, Mount Vernon Rams baseball coach now and a state finalist from a year ago. Of course, he goes in as an individual, top 5 all-time in scoring, and, of course, also a 4-year starter in baseball. We'll talk with Mike Beavis. Randy Odell goes in as a friend of the program, deservedly so. I don't know last time he's missed a game. We'll talk about that with him in the 9 o'clock hour. Bruce Payne, head coach of the track team, going in 88-89. We'll talk with Eddie King. Of course, he was there for a couple of state titles. Steve Lively, track star, will join us. Susie, you knew her then as Susie Woodward. Now she's Susie Maynard. We'll talk with her about her induction, of course, a basketball star for Sarah Rennie. And then we'll talk with Gary Jones with the top 10 all-time scores, a 1,000-point score in Rams history. We'll talk with him. This is all coming up after the 9 o'clock hour on the Saturday Sports Show. Here until 11 o'clock, and all brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We'll take a break, come back with Mount Vernon Rams head basketball coach Scott Gamber. This is the Saturday Sports Show from WMIX Sports.
Take the plunge for Special Olympics Illinois on Saturday, March 1st. It's the annual Law Enforcement Torch Run Polar Plunge, presented by Geico at Red Lake in Benton. Plunge alone, with a team, or make an online donation to support a plunger. Register or support a plunger at plungeillinois.com. That's plungeillinois.com. Or call 618-383-4400. Sponsored by your favorite Withers Broadcasting and Dana Communications stations.
Hi, this is Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. By now you have heard about our new One Checking product. The new One Account is a high-interest earning, free checking account designed for everyone. Unlike other banks that pay interest on higher balance, this account pays interest on all balances. From high schoolers to Warren Buffett, One will work for you. You can talk to one of us at 244-3000 and learn about the details. One, exclusively at Community First Bank. You will be one happy customer. Member FDIC.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Tegpaul Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
High school sports are back, and your source for scores is WMIXsports.com. Also, find archived local sports broadcasts, video highlights, national sports headlines, and more right at your fingertips. Listen and watch live WMIX sports broadcasts from your desktop or any mobile device. Need a score? Want to see a sick dunk? Miss a game? Didn't get up in time for the Saturday sports show? That's right, it's all at WMIXsports.com. Another free service from Withers Broadcasting, WMIXsports.com.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX, WMIXsports.com is presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. AM 940 and WMIXsports.com until 11 o'clock today. We'll talk with Mount Vernon Rams head basketball coach Scott Gamber. Coach's team lost last night to Carbondale on Hall of Fame night at home, but got a big win over Lovejoy to start the week. That was on Tuesday night. We're joined now by Mount Vernon Rams head basketball coach Scott Gamber. Coach, good morning.
Morning. How are you doing?
You know what? Pretty good. I mean, I hate to say this, but it seems like you notice the Rams' better efforts whenever they lose. And I thought the Rams had a heck of an effort last night. Braden Fitzgerald's had, I think, 25 points. Very unselfish. Shakari Hawkins had a decent night. Jake Pike made some big shots. Dylan Reeves was clutch as always. Luke Wilson got in there and did some things defensively and had a couple of nice baskets underneath Jordan Kelly. But, I mean, all in all, I mean, it really seemed like last night the tough thing to do was guard Jordan Kelly and the Terriers. But all in all, I thought the effort was great, and you guys never quit.
Yeah, and that's I did too. I thought our effort was really good last night. I thought our kids played very hard. We made some shots, and kind of what I had said to our guys all week was I wasn't worried about us playing hard. I knew our kids would do that. I was worried about kind of letting the atmosphere get us to try to do more than what we needed to. And I thought that was the negative last night. I thought we played too fast. We gave them a lot more possessions, and then I think we kind of got out of the way we needed to guard them. We let some guys beat us with their strengths rather than try to take away their strengths. I was disappointed in the way we guarded Bursey. I was disappointed in the way we guarded Kelly. We let Bursey drive around us every single time he had the ball. And he's really not a threat to beat you from the outside. I mean, really the only way he can beat you is doing what he did last night, putting his head down, going right, and getting to the rim. I felt like we allowed him to do that way too much last night. Devontavious Payne's a heck of a player, but I thought we let him beat us going to his left over and over last night. And we've got to do a little better job at that, and I thought the biggest key thing was they just annihilated us on the boards. They just shot it until they scored. It seemed like every trip.
Well, and for some of our listeners who may not be familiar with the Carbondale Terriers, this isn't a Carbondale team like maybe 04-05 or 03-04 that's just going to dominate and have an easy road, of course, to Peoria. This is a Carbondale team that's very well-rounded and probably one of the more well-rounded teams the South 7 has seen. They have outside shot shooters. They have a good post player in Jordan Kelly, but just well-rounded and really tough to defend because if you shut one player down, there's four others that can take over the scoring load, and that's tough to defend. It's easy to see why they're on top of the South 7 Conference right now.
Definitely. That is a big thing for them because they put five guys out there that can score the basketball at all times. and like you said, they have shooting, they have athleticism, and they have a nice big kid in Jordan Kelly. I really hope we get a chance to play him again. I thought we would last night, but I think that we can. I think we can play with them a little better. And I shouldn't say that. I mean, we played with them last night. I mean, really, it was a tight game throughout until the fourth quarter there. But I still think I think we could do some things differently and give ourselves a better chance. But I mean, we got a lot of work to do before then. We have 2 regular season games, and then we have Marion in a regional, and us and Marion have been as evenly balanced as 2 teams could be this year. So it's going to be a tough stretch.
Well, and a tough stretch indeed. But, of course, you look back to last night, and you think back to the game at Carbondale just a few weeks ago. I mean, you have to be pleased with the way that this one turned out, even though it's a loss, and it's a loss by 9. But, I mean, given the game at Carbondale a few weeks ago, I think you have to be pretty pleased with how last night turned out under the circumstances.
Yeah, that's why I'm not as disappointed tonight. I think we're getting closer and closer, and we got beat 29 at Carbondale and just got absolutely dominated from start to finish. And last night, when the first quarter was tight, we actually took a 1-point lead in the second quarter, and they finished out nice the half. But you know, after 3 quarters, we're right in the game with a chance to win it, and you know, a couple plays here and there, and it's even tighter than that. I thought there were a couple plays that really hurt us. I thought two big ones was I thought Jay Pike got fouled and scored, and then it was waved off, and they gave him a charge. And then 2 possessions later, I thought Jake took a charge when they scored, and that got called a block. I mean, those are 2 big plays. That's a 6-point turnaround. If Jake scores and is fouled, you know, that's 3 points for us. If they call a charge on the other end, that's takes away 3 for them. So that's a 6-point swing. But then more importantly than that, it put Jake Pike, who had been playing really well, put him on the bench for a large chunk of the second quarter, and that's right when they made their 6-0 run to finish out the half. And I thought, and it seems like this always happens, the thing that could not happen last night with being a man down was we could not get into foul trouble, and we got into major foul trouble in the first half. We had 4 guys with 2 fouls in the first half, and not having Dagg last night, I don't think affects you a whole lot with your starting lineup and that sort of thing. Where it affects it was when Jake has to come out. Now you sub somebody different. Now, Luke had to come out because he had 2 fouls. Now you go, and then you just have to keep going deeper and deeper, and you throw guys in there that haven't been in those spots much, and we struggled defensively. Man, we struggled defensively.
Well, but on the bright side, you finished the week 1-1. You got a big win by 42 points over the Lovejoy Wildcats on Tuesday, and I think the key there, obviously, is you have a good chance for a win with that game on the schedule, and, of course, you got the win at home. But I think the great thing about a game like that is you're able to get some of your JV team in and get them in a varsity game on the home floor, and guys like Draper Joy, Quentin Quiava. I know I'm forgetting some that got in, of course, but you're able to get some of those guys in and get some playing time. And I think that's the great thing in addition to the win is you get that experience as well.
Yes, definitely. And like you said, that's a game that you feel like you're going to win. But sometimes when you play a game where you feel like you should win, you win, but it's ugly and you're frustrated and you barely, it's a 10-point game rather than whatever. It was nice Tuesday night for our kids to play hard, to get a big win. I'm not going to say that they're a great out. They're not. But they had won 6 straight games coming into the game at Mount Vernon. They had beaten Cairo. Last night they went to Waterloo-Jabot, and after 3 quarters we're only down 4 to the Jabot team. That's really good. So I was glad that our guys came out and took care of business the right way rather than just going through the motions and whatever. And, it was nice to get that win, especially we knew how tough last night was going to be. Now, we've got to regroup and try to get ready for an Effingham team that beat us by double digits at Salem not too long ago, and a team that's won a bunch of games and playing pretty good right now.
Well, and as you take a look at things, the Effingham Hearts on Tuesday night, now the Centralia Orphans on Friday night on senior night. You don't have much time to rest before you go into a very tough week, having seen Effingham in the third-place game, of course, at Salem, and then the Orphans, you played them close at their place back in January on the 17th. So really not a lot of time to react, busy week, tough teams, but the beauty part of that is you go well-prepared into the regional the following week.
Yeah, and I think our kids really like this time of year where we played Marion last Friday night. You get 2 days of practice. You play Lovejoy. You get 2 days of practice. You play Carbondale, and then you just kind of keep that same routine from now on out because there'll never be another full week of practice the rest of the year. So for a player, I'm sure they're loving the fact that it's a lot of games. And the tough thing about this coming week is Effingham and Centralia, as far as from a prepare standpoint, are two of the most difficult. I mean, if you have the three toughest teams probably to prepare for, Centralia, Edwardsville, Effingham, we got two of those three in a week. That part's going to be challenging because Effingham runs a ton of great sets. Centralia runs a ton of great sets. They both really guard you and take away your stuff really well. It's going to be a tough week, but it'd be nice to get them both. I think it's really important that we get at least one of these two, but whatever happens, we've got to regroup again and get ready for the Marion game.
No doubt about that. Of course, the Rams number 2 in the Heron Regional draw, the number 3 Marion Wildcats. That's on Tuesday, March the 4th. Scott, final question as always. Hopefully a little bit easier. Of course, this one has the potential to be very tough with the WMIX Sports social media question this week. And with it being Hall of Fame weekend, of course, we were looking for a question having all the Hall of Fame guests that everybody over many demographics would be able to answer and hopefully reflect on with fondness. So this week we want to know, what was your favorite song in high school?
Favorite song in high school? My music tastes are not very good, but my favorite song in high school was Walking in Memphis.
Really? That'd have to be the original because you're too old for it to have been the cover.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm a huge Mark Combs who wrote that. I'm a huge Mark Combs fan. I don't know. Kind of goofy, but
not at all.
My taste in music's pretty different. I like 80s music and that kind of stuff. So.
Scott, I like everything, so that works out for me. Walking to Memphis is a good choice. I mean, we will take that. Of course, best of luck to the Rams this week. We'll see you Tuesday night against Effingham and Friday night against Centralia. Both those games at home. Scott, good luck next week.
All right, thanks a lot.
That is Scott Gamber, head coach of Mount Vernon Rams basketball. Turn him off instead of me. That's not a good move, but all in all, it's been a successful show thus far. Don't forget our WMIX Sports social media question. What was your favorite song in high school? It's pretty simple, at least we think. It may be tough for you to come up with it. I already know my answer. I'll post that later on Facebook.com/WMIX Sports. You can hit us up on Twitter as well, at WMIX Sports. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk Wayne City Lady Indians basketball with head coach DeAirdra Dagg. It's coming up on the Saturday Sports Show. Presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Of course, we will be back after these.
If you've been trying to buy a car with a challenging credit history, you've discovered that it can be discouraging. But there is good news. I mean really good news. Not all buy here, pay here dealerships are the same. Second Chance Auto really is different. For 34 years, Second Chance Auto has guaranteed to give you the best value for every dollar you spend. Listen, did you know that at some dealerships, if you buy an $8,000 vehicle with minimal down, it could end up costing you $2,000 more? At Second Chance Auto, they'll explain how you can save more on the total cost of your vehicle. No surprises, just honest deals, bank rate financing for all, and a truly dependable vehicle with the best value for your hard-earned dollar. This tax season, use your refund where it will go the farthest. Let Second Chance Auto earn your business and your trust. You won't be disappointed. Second Chance Auto, Route 142 East in Mount Vernon. Call today, 244-4582.
Your spine is a miracle of engineering, so when pain strikes, your body is telling you to get help fast. The Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois is proud to feature their spine care team. Doctors Kowalski and Smith, the professionals at Orthopedic Center, specialize in back and neck pain. So put our spine care team on the job. Find out more online at orthocenter-si.com. Stop the pain, fix the problem, and enjoy life again. The Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois.
Control you is supposed to comfort. Oh, you pretty lights. They're in the city of wonder. Ain't gon' play nice. Watch out, you might just go under. Better think twice. The train of thought will be altered. So if you must pause, I'll be wise. Mind and disturb you.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Our next guest took her team to a sectional championship game and came that close, of course, with the fingers pressed together. 41-40 was the score in overtime as Lady Indians fell to Goreville in the sectional title game. We welcome DeAirdra Dagg to the program. Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
I know you hate to hear that, the final score, and especially with last year and then this year, of course, the Trico sectional championship game against the Goreville Lady Black Cats. But I think it's a case where you can reflect and see that many probably would have picked Goreville big in that one. If you pulled, I said in the pregame, I think if you pulled 190 would probably say they expected Goreville to win and win big. But I think the key was going in, you couldn't be fearful of Goreville, and the Lady Indians certainly played without fear on Thursday night.
We did not play without fear. We showed up the whole time, before we got there. That's all we talked about was, Goreville had all the pressure. It was all on them, and we weren't supposed to be there. We weren't supposed to be in that game. All we needed to do was play, and they did. They came out and played.
Well, and I think that was key. And, of course, with the scouting report on the Goreville Lady Black Cats, a team that on the showcase, of course, DC and I were able to see a few times, very talented, very well-rounded with all of their starting five. And you had a job to do. Your girls certainly did it. And there were plenty of big moments throughout the game. In fact, you guys had an early first-quarter lead. And while obviously against a team like Goreville who's been there and had won 3 sectional titles prior to Thursday night, you knew that you couldn't rest on that. But all in all, I think that the Lady Indians played the best they probably could have in that one and left it all out there.
There's always a few things here and there that we could have done better. But all in all, and the girls, when we got in the locker room after the game, heartbroken, of course. But, not a single one of them could stand up. They were all exhausted. They had all put everything they could on the court and left it all there and played their hearts out. And I do feel like it was probably one of our better games. Probably not shooting-wise, but defensively-wise. Goreville had some girls that could score, and we, held, to the most part, we held them to what we thought we could do. But I can't, as a coach, you can't ask for anything more from girls when they, they're literally can't stand up at the end of the game because they've just laid it all out there.
Well, and that they did. 41-40, of course, the final in overtime. I know.
Yeah.
But,
don't say it.
Against a good team like Goreville, though, I mean, and the community that showed up to support you guys, I think you had to be pretty proud of what Lady Indians basketball was able to accomplish this year.
It was amazing. They brought a fan bus, which was awesome for us. And, we've never played in an environment like that. Our family is usually our only fan system that follows us, that comes to games. And so for us to have that many people there, and then after the game, Trico has that little tunnel that you come out of, and the girls came out, and every single one of those fans that were there stayed and cheered and hugged, and we're there to cry with the girls. And as my own daughter, got to talk to her after the game, she said that was the coolest moment ever. It was cool to be in the championship game, but to come out and have your school and your town support you like they did, it was amazing. Yes.
Well, and then, of course, you take a look at the impact, and we've talked about this, with guys like Shane Witzel, about the impact that a trip like that to a sectional can make for your program. And in the first year, of course, of class expansion, the Woodlawn Cardinals go to a sectional. We talked to Shane Witzel about what that would do and what that would maybe do for his program. We see what has happened since then for the Woodlawn Cardinals especially.
Right.
What do you think that could hold in store for your program, your junior high girls especially seeing that? Yeah. Do you think that will help your numbers in future years?
I do believe it will help. When you see a winning team, you want to be involved in that. And, you may not know all the work that they put in, but those older girls are going to explain to those younger girls all the summers that we've spent in that gym, lifting weights or running or, trying to get ourselves prepared for the season and all the practices and all the open gyms and everything that they put all their effort into is worth it in the long run. That feeling of being in the sectional championship game is worth it. The junior high did have a volleyball game. They postponed it. Hamilton County was really nice about postponing it so they could come and watch, because I do think it's really important that they were there as well to see the emotion and to know, what they can do. So I really do think it will help with numbers. I think it will help with understanding why you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning in the summer to come work out. It definitely will make a difference, I believe.
Well, and that's certainly good to hear. But, of course, the community came out as well. You had a nice support and a nice showing from Wayne City. How did that make you feel? Because, without a doubt, we talk about this with a lot of our girls' coaches. Obviously, girls' basketball, girls' sports in general still really don't get the respect that they deserve. And, of course, a lot of your community showed up to watch that game at Trico in rural Campbell Hill, Illinois, probably about 2 hours from home.
A long drive, a long bus ride. It was very... I can't say thank you enough to them, and you couldn't. I couldn't see everybody that was there. Obviously, I was kind of in my own world, but it's so exciting to know that they showed up and they cared about the girls. Nobody really stops to think that these girls work just as hard as boys do. They sweat just the way the boys do. They dive after balls. They go, and I know they say it's boring. It's not as exciting as the boys' games, but they've not probably seen some serious girls basketball played. And they do. They work just as hard as anybody else and deserve the respect just as much. Last night we had the boys' last home game. They did bring the team out, and, everybody stood up and cheered. And, of course, there's always more people at those boys' games. So I can't tell you how many text messages or Facebook messages or people just randomly, here in town that have congratulated us, and all the offers that have come along, that they want to do different things for the girls. So it's really exciting to see Wayne City step up for the girls' team.
Of course, just as quickly as it began, unfortunately, now it ends. Where do you go? Where do you go from here after a sectional finalist appearance?
I don't know. Where do you go? Maybe I should talk to some other people that have been there. I coach softball too, so we'll. I know a lot of the girls. I think there's only a couple that don't play softball with me. They start preparing for the next season. Unfortunately, when you're in a small town or a small school, everybody plays everything, and so they start preparing for that. And we have to celebrate it. And the girls, I know that they won't appreciate it until they're about my age. I'm not sure when if I get up there in years, I get to sit back and appreciate it too. But it's just amazing. I don't think it's sunk in yet. I know it hasn't with me to where we really were. I was talking to a parent last night, and she didn't realize we were 2 games away from the state tournament. The girls, I don't think they've realized how close they were to really being there, and I'm hoping someday that they'll understand just how awesome that they did. It was just amazing.
Well, and of course that brings us, unfortunately, to our WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week, and I say unfortunately because it puts a wrap, of course, on the Lady Indians basketball season,
right?
With our coverage, at least. And of course, we ask and wanting to know this week, what was your favorite? What? Go ahead.
Hold on, before you ask my question, the whole town of Wayne City also wanted to say thank you for covering. They were all so excited about you guys being there and covering it, and the people that got to watch it from all over the United States, they wanted me to make sure to tell you thank you. That was just, we appreciate it so much that you guys come out and take care of us and support us.
Well, I don't know if we have time to go into my thoughts on why it's important to be local and to cover our local teams, but of course we appreciate that, and
thank you.
We owe the communities that we serve, of course, that service. So that's kind of the roundabout thought there. But we asked the social media question now, and I appreciate the thank yous. But we want to know, in high school, what was your favorite song?
Do you know how long ago high school was?
No.
I don't remember. Gosh darn, I listened to everything from country to hip hop to rap. So. Like Justice keeps telling me, Sweet Home Alabama was probably the one I listened to the most. Now he listens to it all the time. So we'll go with Sweet Home Alabama. It was probably the song that was turned up really loud in my car when I was driving around.
There you go. See, that's simple, wasn't it?
That's right. We're headed to basketball now.
Nice.
We got a game at 9 o'clock this morning, so it's always fun. Never stops.
Never stops. Of course, Coach, congratulations on a great season, and thank you for making us a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's DeAirdra Dagg, head coach of the Wayne City Lady Indians, sectional finalists this year. Of course, they went to the Trico sectional and fell to a very, very, very good Goreville team that won their 4th straight sectional this past week. Of course, we Goreville will actually play Central A&M on Monday night at 6 p.m. in the Salem 1A Super. And, of course, we're thankful for the support of Goreville in that game as well, as they came out of droves to watch us as well. The numbers were incredible, and our numbers from Goreville were high, just as high as they were from Wayne City. Of course, Wayne City, I mean, a lot of people watch there, a lot of people watch nationwide. So the nationwide people, obviously, it's hard to tell who was who. But anyhow, we appreciate everybody that supported that game on Thursday night and got to see a girls basketball classic. That said, we need to take a break on the Saturday Sports Show. When we come back, we'll talk Lady Rams basketball with Jeff Lonnon. It's coming up, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be.
I'm Jeremy Pearson with a look at your next rad weather. We'll see sunshine giving way to clouds throughout today. It will be on the milder side, high 60. Mostly cloudy with spotty rain shower tonight, then perhaps a snow shower later on, low 32. Mostly cloudy and cooler tomorrow with a rain or snow shower, high 42. And Monday's looking mostly cloudy and a bit cooler, high 41. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Take the plunge for Special Olympics Illinois on Saturday, March 1st. It's the annual Law Enforcement Torch Run Polar Plunge, presented by Geico at Red Lake in Benton. Plunge alone, with a team, or make an online donation to support a plunger. Register or support a plunger at plungeillinois.com. That's plungeillinois.com. Or call 618-383-4400. Sponsored by your favorite Withers Broadcasting and Data Communications stations.
Mount Vernon is home to many wonderful people and things, and that includes quality cardiac care from Dr. Ruzaik Ibrahim. A skilled cardiologist, Dr. Ibrahim's training and scientific accomplishments have earned his designation as a Fellow of the American College of Cardiology. His services range from preventative care to the treatment of advanced heart conditions. For an appointment with Dr. Ibrahim at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 241-9071 or visit in person at 4113 South Water Tower, Mount Vernon.
Raise your hand if you're tired of showing up for a service appointment only to sit around a waiting room. Hi, Roy Schmidt, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer at King City Chrysler Center. Our express lane fast oil changes and more provide quick, convenient service with no appointment needed. Our specialists are on hand to wait on you with lanes dedicated just for your oil changes, tire rotation, brake inspections, batteries, bulbs, wiper blades, air filter replacements, and more. We will also perform complimentary vehicle inspection with every oil change. We work around your schedule, open weekdays from 7:30 until 5 and Saturdays from 8 a.m. until noon. See Express Lane Fast Oil Changes and more for all of your service needs, and we will get you back on the road quick. We're located at King City Chrysler Center at 1603 Broadway in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Just another reason you can count on us.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX, WMIXSports.com. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Chris Hugo with you today. Danny Zerwinski on assignment. Jeff Lonnon, he is the head coach of the Mount Vernon Lady Rams basketball team. He joins us now. Of course, they finished their season as South 7 Conference champions. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, Hugo. How you doing?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bummed that this will probably be our last Lady Rams basketball conversation until summer basketball starts up. But a great season, a great run by Lady Rams basketball. Of course, came up short against Carbondale on Tuesday night. You win the South 7 Conference, sharing that title with the Carbondale Terriers. And as you reflect back on the season, big wins along the way, and seeing the success of Carbondale, of course, the number one seed in that regional, how much better do you feel to take that win on their home court with Jasmine Hawkins on the buzzer beater back on December 17th? And I know there were some huge wins along the way, but looking back, that was a massive win.
Yeah, that was as big a win as we had all year long. And I'll tell you what, Carbondale's good this year. They really are. For us to beat them down there that night, we're just very fortunate. I'm just going to put it. That's going to put it mildly. And that game, we got on them early, and McKenna got in foul trouble, and we were able to make some shots, which doesn't always happen with us offensively. And we built just enough lead to hold on, because when they decide they're going to make a run, they make a run. And as evidenced in the regional final, Heron had a 12-point lead with 5 or 6 minutes left for a regional championship, and Carbondale beat them by 7 or 8. I think it was 8. I mean, now, they made up basically 20 points in about 5 minutes, and that's what they're capable of doing. They are explosive in a transition game. And how in the world we went down there and did that, because we're really not geared as a transition defensive team or a transition offensive team. We're just probably the polar opposite of them. And as long as we can control tempo with them, we're okay. But if we get tired or hurt, or if there's a chink in our armor anywhere, just like they jumped on Heron when Heron's point guard, Heron was fine, and one kid fouled out, and Carbondale made up 20 points. And it kind of happened to us. Claire tweaked her knee in the fourth quarter, and Courtney tweaked her ankle, and it was like blood in the water. And it went from being a tie game, basically for 3 quarters, or up 2, up 4, either way, to them beating us by 14. I mean, you cannot at all have one little chink in your armor in your best 5 players, or they are going to get on you, and you're going to get beat. And unfortunately, that's what happened for us. We got 2 kids that sustained some injuries in the fourth quarter, and you just cannot hold on. There's just not enough. There's just too much time on the clock, and Heron found that out too in a much worse way than we did.
Well, and you take a look at Carbondale, a team that you always play on a Tuesday night in December, and then the Thursday night before the Carbondale Midwinter Tournament. And I remember you told me last year in a post-game interview, it was at Carbondale, I believe McKenna, I don't remember the result. I remember McKenna Miller didn't have her best night, but you said that if McKenna Miller ever decides to take over a game, she's going to take it over. And I think we saw that at a Carbondale frequently this year, that when she decided to take over, she took over. And it didn't matter how far they were down, they were going to come back and possibly win that game. And, I mean, we saw that time and time again against other opponents as well with the Terriers this season.
Well, here's the thing about that. I did say that, and that's very true. It's still true to this day, even more so. But now they have kids that are going around her. When they beat us, McKenna had 11 points, Chris. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We feel like we've done an excellent job on McKenna if she scored 11. I mean, you ought to win that game. But then Greer turns around. Greer turns around and gets 27, 25, something like that. A couple others throw in double digits, and all of a sudden you spend all your energy and your thought process on Miller going in, and then somebody else dumps in 25. And you can't. It's just very hard to guard them all because of the fact that we don't athletically match up with them in any way, shape, or form. And those kids can outrun us, in a 90-foot race. And that's the bottom line. I mean, they can just outrun us in a 90-foot race, and we can do some things. We can get some kids back early to stop that, which we try to do. We're not perfect at it, but I think we did a good enough job. And, we played them this year, 12 quarters. And in 11 of those 12 quarters, we pretty much held our own against that transition game. And the very last one in the regional, we broke down physically, and then they buried us. And so I feel really good about how we played Carbondale this year. I feel really good about our team. As I said before, we had a tough deal replacing Kelby Quiaba and Leah Palmer and Natalie Williamson off that team. But Haley Lockhart, even though she didn't play a whole lot, just an excellent player. I mean, those types of kids don't come around every year, and they made last year really special. And it was very hard replacing them. And, coming in, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know whether we were going to be 500. I didn't know whether we were going to be under 500. I didn't know if we were going to win 20. I had no idea. So for us to get another conference championship and get a game in the regional that we won and get to the semis, it was a good year. It was a good year, and it was a year I think a lot of people would probably take. So, and the next thing about that is they were good kids. I mean, there was less drama on this team and less controversy and all that stuff that just comes with the trade, no matter where you are. On this team, and last year's team too was really good. But these last couple teams I've had, Chris, have been just a joy to coach, and they make it easy from that standpoint. And it just, your stress level is a little lower when you've got those types of teams. So I got to thank those groups of kids because it makes it easier.
Well, and it certainly does. And you take a look at your team this year, loaded with seniors plus an early graduation. Where does Lady Rams basketball go from here?
Well, we're going to get young. We're going to get young now, and we've got some kids in the pipeline that are going to have to do some growing, and they're going to go through some growing pains from a basketball standpoint. And hopefully physically they'll grow a little bit too, because we're not very big. But it's like it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be fun. I think I don't think anybody next year will probably pick us to win that conference a third time, but you just never know. I wouldn't put past our JVs. Coach Bolt did a heck of a job with our JVs this year. They finished 9-1 in the conference, just like we did, with a group that doesn't score very many points, played great defense. He spent a lot of time with them, and that's when you've got that under your belt, when you're those kids, confidence means a lot. And I'm really looking forward to that next group because it's going to be different. It's going to be a lot different. And it's going to be younger, and it's not going to be perfect. They're going to make some mistakes, but I think the potential is there to fly under the radar for that next group and do some damage. And, I don't want to put too much pressure on them, which I'm obviously not doing right now, but I just think that regardless, I think we're going to be competitive because I think we're always going to guard people, and we're always going to be defensively okay. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see, but it's going to be a decisively different group and a different makeup. And I think it's also going to be a group that can run a little bit better. And then they turn into more of a little bit of a quicker transition team now for the next year or two with some of these little guards that we've got coming along. So we'll see. You just never know. But I can tell you this, JVs were excellent this year. And in terms of their defensive skill, their offensive ability's got to get better. But the bottom line is they did finish 9-1 in the conference, and that's awesome. And our freshmen did well. Coach Maurer was just a real blessing to have him with us this year, a former player at Mount Vernon and a guy who played for Coach Creel, and a guy who's kind of been there and knows how to work hard in practice and knows, that you got to be coachable and a team player and all those things. And he had a nice group. So there's some players there and there's some kids there that can really help us. But I just think next year we're going to be young, and I don't want to make any predictions, and we'll see what happens. But I think the Lady Rams are always going to be competitive. Chris, win, lose, or draw. I don't. We just haven't had a lot of blowouts here in the last couple of years, and that was kind of my goal to get it to that point, and then the wins kind of come as you go.
I'm going to tell you right now, you won 20 games at Edwards County and won a Little Illini Conference Tournament Championship and a regular season championship. If you tell me you're going to be good, I'm going to take your word for it. Trust me there. I trust your expertise.
Those were the days for sure. Those were good days, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then, of course, it wouldn't be the Saturday Sports Show without the WMIX Sports social media question. And I have a feeling that maybe I know this answer already, but maybe I don't. You're at Cerro Gordo High School. You're blasting your stereo in your car, or maybe you're at home or whatever. We want to know, what was your favorite song in high school?
What did you think I was going to say?
I figured you'd go with Wild Horses. But that, I could be wrong.
Strong choice. I'm going to go with the great cult classic, the great new wave classic, one of the first new wave songs as we know it, by Thomas Dolby.
Science.
Do you recall that song?
I know that song very well, and I know somebody likes to just randomly shout science.
Science. Yes.
Oh, my.
I was in a car about a week ago, and that song came on, and I kind of reached that song and how much I really like that song. And, songs in high school, and they become like daily events, like my man, you forget. They come up for the first time in like 20 years, and all of a sudden you realize the favorite song, and I forgot about it. So like I got to go with that because I just heard it recently. I really enjoyed it. I go out and buy a copy of it.
Well, there you go. I think you should support your 80s artist. I think he's actually very tech savvy. And I think now he goes around talking at like tech conferences and things like that, oddly enough.
And you were right down the right path with the Rolling Stones. Anything by the Rolling Stones when I was in high school was blaring out of my car as well. Also, REO Speedwagon. Anything from REO, the Rolling Stones.
You too?
You fixed it. A little arena rock. Like, I had a little mixture of, like, Rat and Poison and Dawkins and, like White Snake was in there a little bit. Just a little mixture of each one of those groups, a little Motley Crue, a little Van Halen. Just that hardcore, rock type stuff was a little mixture in there with the Stones. But I'll tell you what, that Science song is hard to beat.
Science, no doubt about it.
Yes.
Oh, man, Lonnon, it was a great year. You finished over 500. You win a South 7 Conference championship. I know you wanted some postseason hardware to add to that, but Lady Rams had a very successful year, and we look forward to another one next year.
We do, too. I'm very blessed to have this job and do what I do with these girls, and I've been pretty lucky. I really have, and there's ups and downs and everything. This has been a great thing for me and the girls, and hopefully, and I want to you guys just make it because of the beverage is second to none, and watching all, and we're on the exact opposite end of that spectrum. I mean, we get me and all that, and you're there almost every game. And Jeff Crow, because of the video, and it's just remarkable, what you ask. There's a lot that goes in the scenes, and you're a part of it. And I just want to say that.
Lana, we always appreciate the time you give us every Saturday morning as well, and we certainly look forward to what's to come with Lady Rams basketball.
All right, Chris, I do too.
That is Jeff Lonnon, head coach of the Mount Vernon Lady Rams, and kind of stinks that that'll be the last time we talk to him until the summer about Lady Rams basketball, but you never know when he may pop up as a random correspondent for a random topic because he's a random dude, and that's one of the reasons we appreciate him. So Lady Rams had a good year, South 7 Conference champs, and finished over 500 with a tough schedule. We'll talk 1A and 2A boys basketball postseason pairings and get you a check of your WMIXsports.com scoreboard after a quick break. This is a Saturday Sports Show presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're back after these.
This is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. Imagine this. You're driving down the road. It's dark as can be outside. Thank goodness you just had that left headlight bulb replaced. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. Now, close your eyes. Okay, don't close your eyes. You're supposed to be driving. Imagine noticing a slight twinkle off to the left, just above the ditch. What is that, you think to yourself? All of a sudden, whap! You've just encountered your first deer hit. The left side of your vehicle is beat up pretty bad. The next thing I want you to imagine is very simple. Picking up your phone and dialing 1-888-LANDERS to set up your repair. Deer claims are common, and usually a very simple process, which fall under comprehensive coverage. This is Chase Landers, asking you to allow Landers to be your collision repair shop of choice. Whether it be a deer hit, fender bender, or the regular, uh-oh, sorry mom, Landers is here for you whenever you need us. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. 1-888-LANDERS, that's 1-888-LANDERS.
This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Wilt. I want to thank Mount Vernon and the surrounding area for continuing to support us over the past 5 years. If you have never sat down with someone to go over your insurance program, let me invite you into our office. Let us show you what working with the industry leader, represented by a local agent, can do for you. I'm located just off 42nd Street. You can reach our office 24 hours a day at 242-1421 or on the web at tonywilt.com. Thanks again, and go Rams.
And we welcome you back, Saturday Sports Show. We're here till 11 o'clock today. It's Hall of Fame weekend in Mount Vernon Township High School history. That's tonight at Shagnon Gymnasium, of course. The induction ceremony is complete with speeches. They honored everybody before the game last night. We look forward to catching up with the class of 2014 coming up here in the 9 o'clock hour all the way up until 11. But quickly, before we wrap our regular program, talking about some 1A and 2A boys basketball regionals getting started. First, we'll take a look within the NCOE sectional. That's North City Omaha Infield. They are hosting the sectional on one side of 1A. That'll feed into the Carbondale Super Sectional. At the Christopher Regional, of course, the Woodlawn Cardinals are number 1. The Cessford Red Devils are number 2. Those two teams are idle. They get a bye until Wednesday night. On Monday, you can listen to all of those games on WMIX and WMIXsports.com, the entire regional, FM up until Friday night, which will be on the AM. The Wayne City will battle Waltonville at 6 p.m. on Monday. Christopher Weber at 8 on Monday. Winner of Wayne City Waltonville gets Woodlawn. Winner of Christopher Weber gets Cesar. I think if you had to pick a favorite in this regional, obviously the Woodlawn Cardinals have beaten, I think, every team in the regional already. So if they've played Christopher, I'll have to go back and check that one. I have to check the SV Holiday Tournament bracket. But you take a look at what the Cardinals have put together, probably your prohibitive favorite. But no reason not to think. I mean, last night I know Wayne City beat Waltonville. But anything can happen on a neutral floor. Anything can happen. You know, both teams probably not showing their full deck last night in that one. Christopher with Weber, their struggles this year probably going to be the favorite. But you know what? If you turn on at postseason time and start a run and get hot at the right time, again, anything can happen. But I think, you know, this may be a case where seeds play out with the exception of possibly one game. But all in all, should be a competitive Christopher Regional. We're looking forward to WMIX and WMIXsports.com being there all week. Goreville Regional, that is whom. Actually, I'm going to double check NCOE. Yeah, the Christopher Regional winner gets the Goreville Regional winner. Number 1, Goreville Black Cats in that one. Trico's the 2. Also in that regional, you have ZR the 3. They're a 20-win team. It'll be Steelville Cobden on Monday at 7 o'clock. Then on Tuesday, a doubleheader with Trico Alvarado. It'll be ZR and Shawnee after that. The winner of the 4-5 game will get Goreville. And then it'll be Trico and probably ZR in that other semifinal. So really, Goreville probably the prohibitive favorite, but you know, you can understand if Trico were to sneak in there and get a win. Obviously, we just saw Trico Alvarado last night. Trico handled them pretty easily. So Mike Denault's team could be there for a regional championship game with Goreville. That would be a nice coaching battle between Mike Denault and Todd Tripp if that one came to fruition. Crab Orchard swept the Greater Egyptian Conference. They're the number 1 seed in the Hardin County Regional. Number 2 seeds Gallatin County. They were sectional champions a year ago. Of course, they lost a lot. The drone kid ends up at Rice. Lost their post player. NCOE always competitive. You never know when they might jump up and do something. But that also has Hardin County, Thompsonville, Galatia, Carrier Mills. You're looking at probably a Crab Gallatin or a Crab NCOE regional championship game there. And, of course, if you look at your NCOE sectional, the winner of that gets the winner of the Red Hills sectional, surprise, surprise, at the SIU Super. That's the Edwards County Regional, which has the likes of number 1 Oblong, number 2 Sisney, number 3 Edwards County. Oblong probably the prohibitive favorite there, but that's not one of your stronger regionals, I'd say, in that sectional. Cumberland Regional has number 1 Dietrich, and that's kind of the same case where the North a little bit. North this year probably not the strongest, but you look at the Mulberry Grove Regional with Patoka and Odin, and, of course, Odin has a lot of street cred right now, having a pretty good season again under Mike Finkbone. Of course, got a big one over the Woodlawn Cardinals in the MTC Tournament Championship. Patoka throttled them by about 20 on an on-and-off night. Curious to see if those two teams match up again, what would happen in that regional championship game at Mulberry Grove. The Nokomis Regional looks a little bit tougher this year. You have number 1 Altamont, number 2 St. Anthony, number 3 Nokomis. Nokomis started out like world beaters. Started with a hot start to the season, kind of leveled off, tapered off a little bit. Altamont's been strong all the way, and it'd be nice to have seen like an Altamont-Woodlawn regular season game. Two teams like that would be nice to maybe see that someday on the schedule. Long drive, though, but maybe Altamont the favorite there, maybe an Altamont-St. Anthony all-NTC regional, but Nokomis at home, always tricky, and it's going to be tough to go into Montgomery County and beat the Nokomis Redskins, so we'll see what happens there. But all in all, that's a quick look at your 1A Super feeding into Carbondale. 2A quickly. Of course, they will also feed into Carbondale, and they will have a couple of sectionals down here at DuQuoin and Vandalia. I will look quickly and look more at Vandalia before we get in the Hall of Fame program. Mount Carmel Regional has number 1 Mount Carmel, number 2 Fairfield, 3 Flora, 4 Carmi, 5 Lawrenceville, 6 McLeansboro. Mount Carmel, Fairfield, probably your favorites there. I know they're the 1 and 2 seeds, but Not much trickery went into that seed voting. Flora might be a team that jumps in there, maybe does something, but there you go. AJ, I don't see the seeds necessarily playing out at AJ. You have Carterville, the number 1 seed, Anna Jonesboro, the 2. They take on number 3 Murphy. And I think here's the thing for AJ and Mike Chamness's team. I think if they can get past Murfreesboro, they have every equal opportunity to get past Scotty Brzezinski's Carterville Lions. And they're having another incredible year, probably their best year since 04-05. And no reason not to think that Carterville or AJ comes out of there. But I just have this feeling about the Wildcats. At the Nashville Regional, Nashville draws the 1, Pinckneyville the 2. Pinckneyville's kind of been, the Panthers have been up and down this year. But if you get a Nashville-Pinckneyville clash in a title game, even if it isn't Nashville, look out. Harrisburg Regional, Harrisburg the 1, Benton the 2, Frankfort the 3, Johnson City the 4, El Dorado the 5. And look out there. That's going to be one where anything can happen. I think Harrisburg's your favorite, but again, they've been up and down this year. Obviously, they lost a lot from last year, not your Harrisburg team from a year ago. So that's going to be an interesting sectional shaping up at DuQuoin in the newly remodeled Anders Gymnasium over the past couple of years. We'll take a look at one of the regionals over there on the other side that'll feed into the other sectional there at Vandalia. We'll take a look quickly at, I believe, the Mater Dei regional. Mater Dei's the 1, Central the 2, Carlisle the 3, Westland 4, DuPo 5. And Mater Dei was in a tough 3A regional in a year they probably could have gone to state in 2A. Obviously, that was we're now 3 years removed from that, but Mater Dei probably your favorite there. Central, if it's an all-breeze regional championship game, that would be something of legacy. That's going to do it for your regular edition of the Saturday Sports Show today, WMIX, WMIXsports.com. We're going to take a quick break, get you caught up on our sponsors, and when we come back, it'll be our Hall of Fame show. We're talking to the 2014 Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame class. It'll be fun. We're looking forward to it, and, of course, can't wait to talk to some of these guests. And for me, it's going to be a learning experience. I was talking with another member of the media over the week, and we were talking about the Mount Vernon Township High School class of 2014, and they asked me what my favorite memory was out of all these inductees, and I had to tell them that outside of Tim Holloway in the class of 94, whom I vaguely remember due to my age, I wasn't alive for most of it. So this is going to be a learning experience for me, and I am certainly looking forward to it here on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're back after these.
Learn to live healthy, learn to live well, and learn how you can live free from unexpected medical expense with a major medical expense policy from Pekin Insurance and the Page Agency. Health insurance that covers hospital, medical, and surgical expenses offers a wide choice of deductibles and a non-tobacco user discount, too. Rising medical costs don't have to be a problem with a major medical expense policy from Pekin Insurance. This is coverage we hope you'll never need, but you just can't be without. Call the Page Agency at 242-7000 about a major medical health insurance plan today.
From Paducah to Peoria, Evansville to St. Louis, this is AM 940 WMIX Mount Vernon, the free service from Withers Broadcasting.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Teg Paul Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX and WMIXsports.com. Chris Hugo with you today. Danny Zerwinski is on assignment. And we're powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're talking the 2014 Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame. We're here until 11 o'clock, and our first guest out of the gate, head coach of the 1980-81 regional champions, the Mount Vernon Rams basketball team. He is Keith Law. Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a privilege to have you on. Obviously, you're remembered for 3 regional championships back-to-back in Mount Vernon Township High School history. But probably your 1980-81 team gets most of the ink, deservedly so. Disappointed in the sectional championship against Juve Blob and the Effingham Flaming Hearts. But it's great to see this team go in the Hall of Fame, and it's one that is very fondly remembered upon in Mount Vernon history.
Yes, they are. It was quite an honor last night at the high school game to have them all there together and walk out there. It was a lot of fun. We got together at the Elks ahead of time and visited a lot, and we're looking forward to the banquet tonight.
Of course, I was fortunate enough, I believe it was Jeff Shaw who shared it with us whenever John Callerman was inducted as an individual into the Hall of Fame. The play call of that regional championship game at Centralia, it was back and forth throughout. It was a great atmosphere at Trout Gymnasium. What is your fondest memory of that 80-81 team?
Well, a lot of times coaches, talk about how they like practice more than games. Well, with this group, I like games just as well because they came to play every night. They weren't intimidated by anybody. They would come out and play hard all the time. But it was also fun to go to practice with these kids. They came to work every day. They didn't, think, oh, God, here we go again, another day of practice. It wasn't that way with them. They came in and they knocked heads with each other every day.
Well, and as I take a look at the roster and having met some of these fellows before, you definitely had a team full of personalities, or at least they became personalities.
Yes, they were. And what was funny was as different as a lot of them were on the basketball court, they were all together. It didn't matter what they were. If they had problems off the court, it didn't care. Once they crossed that black line to start practice or start a game, that wasn't a factor.
Well, and taking a look up and down the roster, obviously, names that I'm familiar with, Steve Fleming, his daughter Mariah excelled for the Lady Rams recently, and when I started doing games here. Terry Howard, obviously a name I know. Jeff Shaw, Ben Dogan. I don't have the roster in front of me. I'm just trying to go off of memory. The Pipers, David Hodge. And I know I'm forgetting a few guys, but that was a loaded lineup in the history of 80s Mount Vernon Rams basketball.
Yes, it was. And what was so good about them, so many parts were interchangeable. We basically played 8 people. The 5 starters were the 2 Pipers and Fleming and Shaw and Hodge. And then Terry Howard was our sub at guard. Ben Dogan was our first sub at forward. And Chris Disrow was our first sub at center. But when we put one of them in, we could move other people to other positions and not lose anything. We could, Fleming could play guard or forward or center. Shaw could play forward or center. The Pipers could play forward or guard. David Hodge was basically a guard, but everybody else we moved around as we needed to.
Well, and the thing I always take away from Rams basketball, regardless of when, and talking to Scott Gamber, of course, my first year was Doug Creel's last year as head coach, so I've been with Scotty most of the way. Homegrown talent turns into the head coach, and one thing he talked about was the appreciation for playing in Shagnon Gymnasium and then coaching into Shagnon Gymnasium with all of the banners and all of the history. Was it kind of a similar thing for you when you took over the program? There was all of that history and all of that lore of the 49 and 50 and 54 teams and 1920 teams, all of the banners and success. Was it the same way back then?
Yes, it was. And while I was coaching was when John Cruiser was our athletic director, and he had those banners put up. Those banners weren't there until sometime in the late 70s, early 80s, when they put up those championship banners, which added to it. And, of course, with this 80-81 team, you couldn't get a seat in the gym. Any night we played, it was packed over full. And what an atmosphere with, the people in the front row with their feet in bounds and the cheerleaders on both ends that are almost in bounds. And then we full court pressed all the time to try and take advantage of that.
Of course, you played in the South 7 Conference is a little bit different. My favorite rendition of the South 7 Conference, obviously you had the Benton Rangers, the West Frankfort Redbirds, so you'd go to Rich Herron Gym, Max Morris Gym. Centralia, of course, had Trout Gym. You had Carbondale at the old high school. Marion Wildcats, Harrisburg Bulldogs, of course, at Davenport Gymnasium. The Heron Tigers, of course, at Memorial Gym. And you have the conference as it is then. Of course, obviously you had more conference games due to more teams, but what about the non-conference schedule this year? Obviously the Centralia Holiday Tournament and the tournaments, but what about your non-conference schedule that year?
Well, of course, we had a Thanksgiving tournament back then.
That's true.
And we didn't play very well in it. We beat Granite City on Friday night, and we lost to Kankakee Westview and East St. Louis Lincoln on Saturday. So we started out 1-2. And then we went on and played a few other non-conference games, which I don't remember all of them. And then we get into the Centralia Holiday Tournament, and I always liked going to Centralia because the chances of us playing someone that we already play on our schedule was not very good. We were going to be playing different teams, which is what you want to do. And, of course, we went up there and beat Rich East first, and then we played the number 1 seed, Homewood Flossmoor, in the second game. And we won that, and then went on and got beat by Madison in the championship, which was they ran away with the Class A state championship that year.
Well, and of course, I mean, that was a time, and I'm not taking anything away from basketball now, but I mean, there was less to do, less distractions, of course, with not having internet and video games for kids and cell phones now. But back then basketball was basketball, and being able to hear old archives or watch old archives of games, it was amazing to see all of the packed gymnasiums. It was amazing to see an era before the three-point line when a mid-range jumper was essential, but it didn't get you 3 points. And just a different era. And the basketball is always great. And talking about that Centralia Holiday Tournament, of course, the Madison Trojans, who went on to win the Class A title, that was just a different era back then. Tournaments seemed like they were always packed, and everybody was there to see just whom the best team was.
Right, and most people don't realize that Madison was a very small school. They beat East St. Louis in the afternoon in the semifinals and beat Mount Vernon that night in the championship game. A pretty good feat for anybody, and they were that good.
Well, and to go on to win a Class A title at that time was no easy stretch as well. I mean, you're coming off an era where about 8 or 9 years ago you see the class expansion into 2 classes, and there were times, and obviously it happened here, where a Class A team could be just as competitive against a AA team, and the Madison Trojans obviously no different. But as you take a look at this key team you have here, deservedly going into the Hall of Fame tonight, and one of the better teams in Rams history that probably didn't go any further than a sectional, had to be disappointing to run into Juve Blob and the Effingham Hearts. And Effingham in its own right obviously has become a nice basketball tradition. Nothing like the tradition of Mount Vernon Rams basketball. And I know that had to be a disappointing night to Effingham, because this is a team that could have done, looking back, and granted I wasn't there to see it, I wasn't around or alive even, but just from all of the memories, it seems like everybody on that team felt like they could do so much more.
Yes, we thought that we had a real opportunity. Had Uwe not made that first free throw, the 1-and-1, it was a different story. But the next game, East St. Louis Lincoln had got beat by East St. Louis, which was the weaker of the 2 teams at that time. And Effingham beat them in the super sectional. And then the first game of the state tournament would have been against one of the Aurora schools, Wheaton schools, one of the Wheaton schools. And they were a team whose best player had broke his leg right before that, so they were shorthanded. And, of course, then if we'd have got to the semifinals, we would have played number 1 team in the state, Quincy, who was, 6'10", 6'5", 6'5", a lot bigger than us. But we felt we had a chance at least to get into the final Saturday of the state tournament.
And, of course, coverage of teams has changed. Of course, now you have internet streaming, you have video streaming. Back then, for your sake especially, it was John Callerman, of course, a Hall of Fame broadcaster, very, 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 very talented. What was coverage like back then? I mean, I've talked to him, and I know that radio was prominent. Did you have a lot of interviews on sports shows back then? Were there a lot more radio interviews? I know there were a lot of newspaper interviews. How did that all work for you?
Well, not as many radio interviews. That year when I went to the state tournament, of course, I was on TV at halftime of one of the games talking about this year's team. But the local radio station was about it. Centralia Radio would call occasionally, and Carbondale would call occasionally, and I be on them, but mostly just local, from the local area.
And it's just amazing to see how things have evolved. But I know that it's the 81 team going into the Hall of Fame tonight, but what other memories do you have of some of your talented teams back when you coached Rams basketball? I mean, you have to have more fond memories than just 80-81, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, first of all, the first year I came here, I'm new in town, and this class of 80-81, they were freshmen that year. We had 105 kids try out for the freshman basketball.
Wow.
And I know none of them. I'm new in town, and we're trying to pare it down. We kept 25 freshmen that year, which is highly unusual. You don't keep that many. But there were so many, we cut it down to that number, and and then that first year also, Doug Creel was a senior, along with Mac Thomas and Scott Wagner and Jeff Connor, and they were a very good team, but we lost 2 of our starters before Christmas to knee injuries. Mac Thomas led the South 7 in scoring that year, averaging about 23 points a game. And played at forward at 6'1", but he was a lot bigger than that when he played on the court. And of course, this team of 80-81, the year before, they were well below 500, and they won a lot of their last games to get where we were both above 500 by winning the regional tournament. We were guaranteed that we were going to be at least 500, and then we beat Mascoutah in the first game of the sectional at West Frankfort to put us at 14-12, and then we lost that last game to Effingham.
Well, and then, you mentioned Doug Creel as a senior your first year. Is that a kid that you saw back then? Would you have ever imagined he'd have gone on to become the great high school coach he did?
Well, you know, what amazes me about Doug, not so much about his coaching, was about his playing. He was about 6'1" and weighed about 150 pounds in high school. And now he's, 6'5" and weighs 220 pounds probably. But he'd run through a brick wall for you. He was very competitive. He wasn't afraid of anybody and was a very talented competitor. And then he, of course, went on at Rend Lake and led the state junior colleges in scoring when he got down there. Had we not had some injuries, Doug would have had a much more productive senior year, but because of the injuries, he had to do some things that took away from his offensive game.
Well, and of course, we've talked about some of the players you've coached, obviously on 80-81 especially. Who were some of your assistants way back when?
Well, my first year here, Bob Horst, who was here last night and will be here again tonight, was the only one left on the staff from Sonny Ellis's team, coaching staff. And the next year, Jeff Hacker joined us. Freddie Hines, who was there last night, was our freshman coach for a couple years. In 80-81, Lowell Rose joined our staff as freshman coach. And those were Rose and Hacker and I were the last, when I finished coaching, we were the only three left on the staff. But good people. We really worked well together. Everybody did what was asked of them. And they were all for the team. They didn't have any egos getting away. They wanted to do what was right for Mount Vernon High School.
Well, and of course, Jeff Hacker was the one I was especially hoping to hear. He taught driver's ed still when I was going through high school. Just an all-around great guy and a gentleman I think the world of course. And Coach, it's been a privilege to talk to you today. Obviously, going into the Hall of Fame as a coach of a great team is a tremendous honor. But sometimes with radio interviews here at WMIX now, we do things a little bit differently. And we always wrap each interview with what we call the WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week. And this week we're asking all of our guests, especially since it's such a high school-related type thing, we want to know what your favorite song was, your favorite musical song in high school.
Another One Bites the Dust.
Nice.
That was what we played after every game.
Nice. That is a good one. Coach, obviously a big honor from WMIX. On behalf of WMIX Sports, I congratulate you guys on your accomplishments, not only getting those regional championships, but getting the biggest honor from Mount Vernon Township High School and being inducted as part of the class of 2014. Coach Law, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm just along for the ride on this. This is all about these kids.
No doubt about it, Coach. Thank you so much for your time this morning. It was an honor to be able to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
That is Coach Keith Law, of course, head coach of the 1980-81 Mount Vernon Rams basketball team, and one of those that you really hope you do the interview justice, and you know, that team was 2 years before I came along, but I know that when I first started, I came back to Mount Vernon from college, and I had never really left, but I spent a lot of time down south, and you know, teams you always heard about. Obviously, you always heard about Max Hooper. You always heard about the Terry Gamber teams. You always heard about Nate Hawthorne. And you heard about all these guys that came through. And then, of course, going to high school during the Kent Williams, Scott Gamber, John Nockey era, and Ryan Maurer, of course, the team that went to the Elite Eight. I was in 8th grade then. But a team that I always heard about, though they didn't go to state, was 80-81. And, you know, to be able to talk to Coach Law about that team and about that accomplishment is certainly a thrill for me here today. Our next guest is definitely going to be a thrill and get to talk to him about something other than him trying to deflect his coaching abilities onto his kids. Tim Holloway is a great guy that probably not much in the way of personal accolades and always will try to deflect on whomever else he can, but don't let him fool you. He was a great basketball player, a great baseball player, and is now a great coach. It doesn't matter the sport. I actually got to talk to Doug Creel about this a little bit last night about Tim Holloway and just how good of a dude. And I use the term dude. I always use that term when somebody's just a good human being. And Tim Holloway, a good egg. Of course, we will talk to him next about his induction as a player in high school. Tim Holloway, of course, class of 2014 is coming up next here on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX and WMIXsports.com. I know he's busy today. I think he has some Pee Wee basketball to coach. And we'll talk with the Rams baseball coach today about his Hall of Fame induction. The Saturday Sports Show is presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're back after this.
I'm Jeremy Pearson with a look at your next round weather. We'll see sunshine giving way to clouds throughout today. It will be on the milder side, high 60. Mostly cloudy with spotty rain shower tonight, then perhaps a snow shower later on, low 32. Mostly cloudy and cooler tomorrow with a rain or snow shower, high 42. And Monday's looking mostly cloudy and a bit cooler, high 41. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Did your bank recently stop offering free checking? People's National Bank still has free checking with the added convenience of a Visa check card, online banking, bill pay, Money Pass, and mobile banking. Stop by People's National Bank located at 413 South 34th Street in Mount Vernon today for details on how to get your free checking account.
People's National Bank, serving Southern Illinois since 1909. Member FDIC, non-usage fees may apply.
When you hear the warm, inviting sound of a crackling fire, what comes to mind? A rustic campground? A cozy cabin? How about the new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center? Our new family lounges feature a lot of comforts you might not expect. Things like this. No, that's not a babbling brook or serene stream out in the countryside. It's a 2-story waterfall located right here at Good Samaritan. And that's not the only way we're raising the bar for patient comfort. We've added lush healing gardens, as well as wall after wall of beautiful artwork, all designed to create the perfect healing atmosphere. And if all this sounds like music to your ears, we encourage you to check us out. Chances are, we're not too far from where you are right now.
The new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center. Raising a hospital, raising the bar.
I'm Chad Baker for the Southern Illinois Insider. Join me every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. If you loved our old inquiry report, you'll love the Southern Illinois Insider. We'll talk with newsmakers as well as event shakers throughout the area, whether it be some more insight on a newsworthy item or giving you something to do on your weekends. It's all happening on the Southern Illinois Insider, Sundays at 11 on AM 940 and 94.1 FM WMIX.
And we're back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Our next guest, you probably know him now as the head coach of the very successful Mount Vernon Rams baseball program. But once upon a time, he was a top 5 scorer in Mount Vernon Rams basketball history and a 4-year starter for the Rams baseball team before going on to Edwardsville and excelling in just about everything there. He is Coach Tim Holloway. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
I already know, I can probably guess most of your answers. You're not a guy that really wants many personal accolades. You're always in it for the kids and for everybody else. But how do you feel this morning, knowing that you're being recognized as an individual and going into the class of 2014 Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame?
Well, you're kind of right there. I never really enjoyed the spotlight, and I always preferred to just put my teammates first and that type of thing. I always felt more comfortable in that way. But what this has allowed me to do is go back this winter, look back through a lot of things that my parents had kept, newspaper clippings, situations like that, and realize just, how neat it was. And I already knew that, but I hadn't looked back in a long time. So it's pretty special to look back and just appreciate the guys I played with and coaches I had even more.
Well, and of course, you played at a time when, this is really your teams, and of course, maybe JoJo Johnson a couple years before, my first real memories of South 7 Conference basketball being the age that I am. And of course, I remember going to Rams basketball camps and Chad Hammonds, Derek Harlan, of course, you would be the coaches, Kevin Bowen, I believe, back then as well for a time. And of course, I remember having you as my coach at one of the Rams basketball camps in 1992. And to see, that was a thrill for me. You mentioned the 1987 team, I believe it was, that went to the Super and being about 10 years old. That's kind of a similar situation for me. You were one of those guys for me. How crazy is that?
Well, that is, and I apologize for that coaching job I probably did back then. But I was pretty shy as a high school kid, but. I always liked, Coach Krill always had us work those camps, and it was good for me, and we always liked it. Working with the kids was always something that I enjoyed, and I've always wanted to give back. But that year, you talk about JoJo Johnson, he was a senior my sophomore year. And, that's the year that we were picked. At that time, they had preseason coaches polls. We were picked 6th in the South 7. And I can remember Coach Emery saying, and I was thinking to myself, I just got to make the team. As a sophomore, I have to get noticed. I have to work hard. I've got to make an impact. And I made the team. And he said, we're not going to be 6th this year. if you guys will do these things, we're going to sneak up on some people. And first game of the year, he said, hey, you're going to start tonight. And I about fell out right there, but I was shocked. But it went on to be a great season, 25-5, are absolutely loaded, at Carbondale, NBA, and they were a load. They had several Division I athletes. Centray had a very good team. We beat them 4 times that year. Benton got third in the state that year with JoJo Johnson and those guys, and just battles, a lot of battles. A special year for sure.
Well, and some of your memories from back then. Obviously, you poured in 1,355 points. You're one of the top 5 all-time scorers in Rams basketball history. But you also had some great players surrounding you from the time you were a sophomore, from the time you were a senior. And I know you keep in contact with a lot of your teammates, both basketball and baseball. But who were some of the guys that surrounded you back then?
Well, I played with good guys, and it was never about scoring. We just wanted to win. But in '92, in that year, Quinn McClure, of course, I've coached with Quinn the last 15 years in both basketball and baseball, was on that team. Tyran Trimble had a great year, and anytime we played Troy Hudson, he turned it up and just went crazy and helped get us some big wins. But Eric Creed, Jason Watts that year, and Bernard Patton I played as a sophomore and junior, and I really enjoyed playing with Bernard Patton. He was a good player. He was a winner and just a good teammate. And then the group I grew up with, who we're still close today, would be in the '94 group: Kevin Bowen, Gabe Harrison, Chad Hammonds, the late Jay Settles. Those guys were like brothers to me. And then as a junior, going back that year, Derek Harlan was on my team, and I had grown up with Derek at McClellan Gray School, and Derek meant a lot to me. He was a reason why he made me better. We played together every day growing up, so it was something that was special to get to play with him in high school. Ryan Inslee played on that team. I don't want to leave anyone out, but we just had a great group of guys, and we could probably say that we overachieved. I don't really like that word, but looking back this winter, one of Coach Emery's quotes, and I got tickled reading. He said, we had just beat O'Fallon, who had a 6'7", 6'8" guy, and he said, it's almost embarrassing looking out there. We're 6'1" and under, and I was only one over, but I was more of a 2-guard. And he said, but when the ball is tipped, our heart comes through, and that's how it was. There were a lot of intangibles with our group. We wanted to win for each other and our coaches.
Well, and of course, obviously, a lot of the ink went to basketball, and a lot of coverage still goes to Rams basketball, but you excelled on the baseball diamond as well. And, on some of the teams that Gil Bernard had, of course, obviously probably made history or made the most waves than the team that would have been your freshman year in college that ended up at state. But you still had some nice seasons along the way when you were in high school with a regional. I think back in '92, you'd have been a sophomore that year, I think. But you take a look at the rest of your varsity career, of course, under Coach Bernard, and, some pretty good seasons for Rams baseball under Coach.
Right, we did, and I was fortunate to have stability with coaching throughout my high school career. Coach Bernard's first year was my freshman year, which was '91. I've told the newspapers and the committee, I've tried to tell everybody, in '92 we did not win the section. We were the first team to reach the sectional finals in Mount Vernon history, but they've got that wrong. But we're going to work that out tonight. But '91, I was a freshman. I did not start in the field that year. It was Coach Bernard's first year. We'd struggle at times. I think they finished one game under 500, but I had pitched as a freshman a year later in the season, and ended up pitching the regional championship game. I think Coach was trying to establish some culture, and we had played Benton that year. Benton had beat us bad 2 times, so I got rewarded as a freshman getting to throw against them, and it didn't go real well either. But my sophomore year, we made a great run, won a regional, beat Highland in the sectional, lost a tough game to Bevel West in the sectional championship, which was the first time in the sectional finals in school history. So we were happy with that, took pride in that, and had a pretty good junior year, threw well. My senior year, we set the school record for wins at the time, and were co-champions with O'Fallon, I believe, in the South 7. So again, played with great guys and good coaches, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, and at that time, and obviously nobody knows where they're going to end up for their future in adulthood or anything like that, but you knew you were going to Edwardsville, SIUE, where you had a very successful athletic career. At what point did you realize you were going to become a coach, and at what point did you realize you were going to be a great coach?
I don't know about a great coach at all, but I knew in high school and then especially in college when I was playing at that time, I believe the rules were the head coach in the summer couldn't sit on the bench with the team. So at times, Doug would have me and Kevin Bowen come and sit with knocking those guys when they were playing in these summer games. And, I love the game. I love coaching. I love sports. I wanted to be around it. I was a shy kid, and I knew I had some work to do on that. There was things that I had to improve on. But that's why I always like to read a lot of John Wooden's books. He talked about how shy he was as a young guy, and so I can work on these things and develop my own style. And you have to be yourself, and that's the key. But I've been surrounded by good coaches and good players, and it's been a joy to use my experiences to give back to the youth.
Well, and you mentioned the youth. Is Rome Pee Wee in action today, or you guys got the day off?
No, we're playing today. We got the little guys going at 11. So
nice. Where you at?
We're at field today.
Nice. Rome Pee Wee's having a pretty good year, from what I understand.
Oh, we're doing fine. We're trying to learn some fundamentals, and Pee Wee's fun because everybody gets to play, and it's there's a lot of camaraderie with our kids, so it's pretty enjoyable.
Of course, we're going to have you on every week in a couple of weeks, and it wouldn't be ending an interview without the famous WMIX Sports social media question. We tried to make it easy this week, I promise. But this week we want to know, since it is high school related, it's Hall of Fame related, what was your favorite song in high school?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. They're always tough, Chris. In high school, we listened to all kinds of music. I can remember there for a while, before games, someone was bringing a jam box in, and there was a song, it was House of Pain or Onyx, Jump Around.
Nice.
There were some of those songs. Coach Emery would come in and look at us and say, do you really like that stuff? And but we liked that before games, and I liked Pearl Jam. I don't remember if that was high school or college, but it was in that era. So, I'll go with Jump Around this time. But there was a lot of good music in the '90s.
I can't lie. I just thought you used the same CD back then that you guys use now for Rams baseball.
I'm gonna put that on Quinn. He's in charge of that. And yes, it probably is.
Coach, congratulations on going in as an individual. I fully expect to have to do this interview again in a few years when you go in again as a coach, but congratulations for your high school accomplishments. Congratulations on being a Hall of Famer.
All right, Chris. Thanks for having me.
That's Tim Holloway, head coach now of Rams baseball, but a top basketball player and baseball player, class of 1994. And I'm a big soapbox guy, but I think the thing with Tim Holloway, and he does not like the personal accolades, he does not like to be in the spotlight, but an incredible coach. And I, again, got to talk to Doug Creel last night. I think it was before the JV game. He's a busy guy, but I asked him, I said, hey, you're on the Hall of Fame committee. I said, is it possible for somebody to go in as both a player and then later as a coach? And he thought about it for a second. He said, well, sure. And I said, will Tim Holloway be that first? And don't remember much of the conversation beyond that because I knew he agreed at that point. We talked about how great Tim was, or Tim is, as a coach now. And Tim, of course, was one of Doug's assistants on Rams basketball. He assisted Rams baseball and now taking over the Rams baseball program and leading them to their first ever state finals appearance and finally getting that sectional crown at Effingham this year, and just seeing that look and the pride that he takes in his teams and the pride that he takes in his teams knowing the fundamentals, I think is a big thing. And, of course, I joked about Rome Pee Wee. I happen to have a nephew on that team, and unfortunately they play early enough to where I never get to see them. But I know that, with Tim Holloway, you couldn't be prouder to have somebody coaching a kid or your kid or a nephew or a niece than that man right there. So Mount Vernon Rams baseball, of course, is in very, very good hands. We'll talk with Tim Holloway a lot more coming up over the course of the season. Can't believe that will actually be here before we know it. We need to take a break. We have Mike Beavis coming up here on the Saturday Sports Show. as we are talking with your 2014 Rams Hall of Fame class. We're here until 11 o'clock on AM 940 and WMIXsports.com, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. We'll take a break. Back after these.
High school sports are back, and your source for scores is WMIXsports.com. Also, find archived local sports broadcasts, video highlights, national sports headlines, and more right at your fingertips. Listen and watch live WMIX sports broadcasts from your desktop or any mobile device. Need a score? Want to see a sick dunk? Miss a game? Didn't get up in time for the Saturday sports show? That's right, it's all at WMIXsports.com. Another free service from Withers Broadcasting, WMIXsports.com.
Hi, this is Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. Now is a great time to move your account to Community First Bank. With our new One account offering the highest interest rate in the market, free checking, and CD specials delivered by people you know and trust, why would you not bank with the market leader in Jefferson County? We offer 5 locations with 7 ATMs and have been serving the Jefferson County market since 1906. Stop in and see why our bank is the fastest growing bank in Jefferson County. Community First Bank. Welcome back to personal banking. Member FDIC.
Renly College's Adult Volunteer Literacy Program is looking for volunteers to help stop adult illiteracy. Give the gift of reading and be a hero forever. Renly College will provide you with training and materials to help adults develop the basic reading ability needed to excel. You can work one-on-one, tutor a small group, or work with students in an adult education classroom. Experience the joy of helping others and change a life. Call Renly College's Volunteer Partnership toll-free at 800-369-5321, extension 1342.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXsports.com. I apologize. We got our wires crossed. We did not confirm Mikey Beavis yesterday. My apologies. So we have everybody but one here today on the Saturday Sports Show. Of course, WMIX and WMIXsports.com. Glad to have you with us. We're here until 11 o'clock, of course. Interviewing the 2014 Hall of Fame class, of course. It's a big night. And anytime you go to high school, I mean, obviously, you want to do the best at whatever you can, and you want to accomplish what you can. And everybody going in tonight accomplished something great in their high school career. And, of course, it's a big night, as we told you. Tonight, the doors will open for dinner at about 4:50. So about 4:50 to 5:20, they'll get everybody seated. They'll welcome everybody in, and, of course, they'll have an invocation by Scott Tickner, who he in himself is a great dude. And, of course, they'll have the dinner at 5:30. But then they'll start. Rob Wild, of course, will be the master of ceremonies. At about 6:15, they'll get everything started. And, of course, they'll honor Randy Odell, Mike Beavis, Tim Holloway, Gary Jones, Eddie King, Steve Lively, Susie Woodward Maynard, and then the 1988-89 track team and 1980-81 basketball tonight. Of course, the thing about Mike Beavis is there weren't very many four-year starters in Rams basketball history, but he was one of those. And I think is in the top 20 in all-time scoring, just under 1,000 points for his career, and then had 3 kids, of course, that went through Mount Vernon High School, so stayed around and definitely became a great contributor to our community. So we congratulate Mike Beavis for going in. It would have been nice to get his thoughts, and I apologize. I didn't oversee that very well, and my staff, so we missed on that one, and we'll have Randy Odell coming up a little bit later on the program here on the Saturday Sports Show. Of course, I know it's the Hall of Fame edition. We kind of wrapped the regular program a moment ago, but the WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week, if you're tuned in for the Hall of Fame show, maybe you're not tuned in every week, but it's something we do each and every week, and we'd like you to participate in the discussion. You can go to facebook.com/WMIX Sports. With it being Hall of Fame week, of course, we are wanting to know from everyone who has joined us this morning or looks on our Facebook wall, in honor of Hall of Fame, everybody has memories of high school, but what was your favorite song in high school? I mean, we all have that. We all have our favorite. And I think for me, this is where DC and I give our answers. Danny, of course, is on assignment today. He's not here with us. My answer would have to be The Kids Aren't All Right by The Offspring. It came out in 1999, right about the time that I got my driver's license, and I think that was the first album I blasted in any vehicle that I drove on a regular basis. like the entire album. But the kids aren't all right. Had a nice intro. We use it as bump music occasionally here on the Saturday Sports Show. So it's just one of those things. It was a great song, had a great tune, and beyond that, it was just a great thing. And of course, there it was. So that was a good time. And of course, we'll have plenty more to come on your Hall of Fame show. WMIX, WMIXsports.com. A little bit later on, of course, we will have, I think at 9:50, we have Randy Odle. That's going to be a fun interview. We're going to pick his brain, talk to him about some of his memories. Ron Marlowe, one of his good friends, went in last year, and of course, he mentioned that Randy Odle would not be far behind. So that came this year. We'll talk to him. That'll be coming up on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Back after these.
Convenience is what the Medicine Shop Pharmacy in Mount Vernon is all about. During these cold winter months, take advantage of our free local delivery service to your home or office, or use one of our 2 drive-through windows where a staff member is always ready to serve you. If you take several medications and have trouble remembering what to take and when to take it, ask pharmacist Eric Black about medication planners. These blister packs make it so easy to take the correct medications on time. In a recent poll, patients 65 years old and older who use medications found that more than 50% take at least 5 different prescription drugs regularly. Those polled admit they forget to take their medications. Don't let this happen to you. Stop by and ask us about our medication planners. Remember, drugs don't work in patients who don't take them. The Medicine Shop Pharmacy, 2339 Broadway in Mount Vernon, or give them a call, 618-242-8776.
Hi, this is Joe David Cummins, President of Community First Bank. By now you have heard about our new One Checking product. The new One Account is a high interest earning, free checking account designed for everyone. Unlike other banks that pay interest on higher balance, this account pays interest on all balances. From high schoolers to Warren Buffett, One will work for you. You can talk to one of us at 244-3000 and learn about the details. One, exclusively at Community First Bank. You will be one happy customer. Member FDIC.
I make them good girls go bad. I make them good girls go. Good girls go.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show. We'll have Randy Odle still to come. Also, the rest of your Hall of Fame class still to come here until 11 o'clock today. I know, sort of hard to believe, but yes, we're a special 3-hour program today. We'll talk with Bruce Payne in the 10 o'clock hour, head coach of 88-89 track. We'll talk with Eddie King, of course, 2-time state champion Rams basketball. Steve Lively, track star, still to come. Susie Woodward Maynard, of course, Lady Rams basketball sensation. And then Gary Jones, he's within the top 10 all-time Rams scores. So we'll talk with him. That's all coming up in the 10 o'clock hour. Of course, we'll take a break on your Hall of Fame show. Here on WMIX, WMIXsports.com, we'll check in. And actually, a guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer in his own right is Lincoln's Neil Alexander, of course, from the Nokomis native. Played high school ball with Steve Kimbrough, the head coach of the Nokomis Redskins. Between them, probably have 8,000 wins by now. Of course, I say that in jest, but both very successful. So we're going to take a listen of an IRN Prep Sports Report, and then we will come back after the break and have Randy Odle here on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're back after these.
This week on the Illinois Radio Network Prep Report.
It takes good players and a lot of good people surrounding you to be able to do those things. You have to have a coaching staff, you have to have a family that's very supportive, and you also have to have players. And I've been fortunate along the way to have kids that have been committed to playing the game of basketball. This is the greatest place in the world to work. I can't say one bad thing about Lincoln High School and Lincoln, Illinois. I love our community, the support. It's been a great ride.
That's Lincoln High School boys basketball coach Neil Alexander. He just picked up his 700th victory in his lengthy coaching career. I'll be back with the IRN Prep Report in a moment.
I knew I'd been scammed. I don't have the heart to tell my children what happened to their college fund. I should have investigated more.
Sign on the door, fancy car. I thought I was in good hands.
These are recreated testimonials, but the losses they represent are real. The cases involve actual fraud victims from the files of the Secretary of State's Securities Department.
I worked so hard to get that money, and it's all gone.
Don't become a victim of fraud. Investigate before you invest. Call the Secretary of State's Securities Department to make sure the company is registered and the broker is licensed. That's 800-628-7937. Online, go to avoidthescam.net.
If it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Investigate before you invest. That's 800-628-7937. Online, go to avoidthescam.net.
Neil Alexander's first head coaching job was in football back in 1976 at the former Westmore High School in Joy, Illinois.
Yeah, I coached football for 1 year, so my record's 1-8 as a football coach, so I decided to go to the other way, and I loved all sports, and that's one thing that I think kids miss today is to be able to experience playing all sports. And, back when I grew up, you just jumped from season to season, and it was very enjoyable, but kids don't get that opportunity anymore.
A door opened at Westmore, and Alexander also became the school's basketball coach in the fall of 1976, where he picked up his first hoops victory, a season in which his club finished just 4-19. What about the memory of his first win?
I've been asked that question a lot of times. The only win I remember at Westmore was we beat Monmouth in a game that we weren't supposed to win, and that's really the only one of the four that I remember. But I do remember that, I've gone from, starting at Westmore and being 3 or 4 years older than some of the kids now, to now where I'm old enough to be their grandpa.
Now in his 37th year of coaching, Alexander says he has much to be thankful for, and it starts with his wife.
My wife, Denise, we've been married 41 years. We started dating when we were sophomores in high school, and she's watched me play at the Nokomis High School. She watched me at Monmouth College, and along the way, she's watched of the 700 victories that I have. I'll bet you she hasn't missed more than 5 or 6 of those.
Alexander says he's also been fortunate to be surrounded by good kids and a good staff at Lincoln High School.
But I tell them, if I could play 15 kids, you'd make me the happiest guy in the world where every one of you could play. That's not the case of the game. The game calls for 5 players, and we have to make decisions on who's played. And I got a great staff to help me make those decisions. And I have the final decision, and I'm the one that takes the heat for it. But I don't have a lot of problems. In fact, we have no problems.
I'll be back to finish the IRN Prep Report right after this.
Before you dig, it's important to know what's below. Always remember to call Julie or click before you dig. Simply call 811 or go to IllinoisOneCall.com. That's Illinois, the number 1call.com. Avoid damage to neighborhood underground utilities. Large or small, we urge you to contact us before you dig. Make every digging project a safer project. Simply contact Julie 2 business days before you start at 811 or anytime at IllinoisOneCall.com. It's smart, it's free, it's the law.
Neil Alexander's coaching career has spanned 37 years. He's been doing it so long that 2 of the schools he coached at, Westmore and Yorkwood, no longer exist. The Nokomis High School and Monmouth College grad also spent 10 seasons at Bushnell Prairie City prior to his current 24-year run at Lincoln High School, which has included 3 trips to state. For the Illinois Radio Network Prep Reports, I'm Jim Taylor.
Take the plunge for Special Olympics Illinois on Saturday, March 1st. It's the annual Law Enforcement Torch Run Polar Plunge, presented by Geico at Red Lake in Benton. Plunge alone, with a team, or make an online donation to support a plunger. Register or support a plunger at plungeillinois.com. That's plungeillinois.com. Or call 618-383-4400. Sponsored by your favorite Withers Broadcasting and Data Communication stations.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life, but now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Tegpaul Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
And welcome back on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX, WMIXSports.com. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Our next guest goes in as a friend of basketball. He is Randy Odell. Randy, good morning.
Morning.
You know, you've seen probably, I'm going to exaggerate here and say that you've probably seen about 1 million Rams basketball games and sporting events over the past however many years, and a lot of memories to be had, but you've devoted yourself as an official scorer, and you work, of course, for Rams basketball, and I can think of no more deserving honor than for you to go in as a friend of the Mount Vernon Rams into the Hall of Fame. How do you feel right now to be recognized for your accomplishment?
It's quite an honor. I appreciate your thanking me for it. It's not only been basketball, it's been football the whole length of time, too. So it's been from last of August till middle of March for the last 35 years.
And you know, I take a look at, I'm reading some of the propaganda, of course, and some of the write-ups about some of your memories, and you've seen some of the best go through Mount Vernon Township High School, both on the gridiron and, of course, on the basketball court. And you know, some of those, of course, while you're in high school. Who are some of your favorites that have gone through MVTHS on the basketball floor?
Nate Hawthorne is one that really sticks out. He played professional basketball. He played for SIU for 3 years. That's all you could play back then. And he went on and played for the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. But I had to guard Nate in 5th and 6th grade. And he was heads above everybody else even back then. He'd take you out of your jockey strap. He was that good. But Eddie James was great. Harry Gamber and Gary Jones, Danny Hester, Tim Holloway, Jamar Sanders, Kent Williams, Naki, Morgan. Basketball's changed a lot. When I was going to high school, it was like a ballet dance, and now it's more like a football game out there. I even refereed a little bit when I got out of high school, and they stressed the rules interpretation being no contact, no contact. And now there's nothing but contact.
Well, and one of the things that I have to laugh about, I think Ron Marlowe even told us this story maybe last year whenever he was going in, of course, a good friend of yours, but about a story relating to the Centralia Holiday Tournament. Of course, the bus broke down. And I think parents, I think if another bus had come or something, that the team would have been late for the game. And how long did it take for somebody to finally pick you up?
Parents would come by and then take one. The first 5 went first, and Doug. And the last, Roger Williams, Kent Williams' uncle, finally stopped. We'd been there probably half hour, 45 minutes, and picked the team manager up, Corey McGee, and myself. And I began to wonder if I wasn't going to stay there all day. It was cold, and that bus wasn't running, and didn't want to miss the ball game, especially missing by a broken-down bus.
And I mean, that doesn't just happen to anybody. It seems like that's only the type of thing that, you know, would happen here, but always managing to make the best of every situation. Of course, you got there, the Rams got there, and, of course, went on to play that game that day. But you know, you take a look at Rams basketball over the past 35 years especially. You've seen some great coaches. You've seen some great players. But also on the gridiron, you've seen some great players that, and at a time when at times maybe Mount Vernon Rams football wouldn't get a lot of the publicity that it deserved. Who are some of the great gridiron players you've seen come through?
Troy Hughes really jumps out. You could close your eyes and hear a tackle being made and knew it was Troy. And a few years later, or quite a few years later, about 10, 12, a boy named John Shirley was the same way.
Yes.
When he made a hit, you could hear it all over the stadium. And I got to see Marvin Kendricks play when I was in high school. Marvin didn't run around people. Marvin run over people. And Marvin went ahead and played football in the Canadian Football League, I think. I'm not sure if he played professional football in the United States or not, but he went to UCLA, set records there. Frank Sanders was another one that would hit you and you'd know it. You could hear it all over the stadium. There's been a ton. David Spann, Eddie Lively, Steve Lively's brother, kickoff return, halfback. And just list goes on and on. Good athletes just went through Mount Vernon High School.
Well, and it does, and great coaches as well, both basketball and football. Do you have a favorite team from basketball and from football that you were able to witness and just thought that the entire year? I mean, which teams are your favorite? There were a lot of great teams, obviously, now in the Hall of Fame, but which one would Randy Odell pick as his favorite?
Well, it's my senior year in high school. Now, Kent Williams' group was tremendous. It was a whole different era. My senior year in high school, we had Nate Hawthorne, Steve Strickland, Harry Sledge, Frank Sanders, Eddie James. They're tremendous. They could all dunk the ball, which dunking was disallowed a few years before it was blew out cinder. But they changed the rules that no dunking. All five of the starters could dunk the ball. But, they was more like plow horses. They got the job done. For Kent Williams' group, they was like greyhounds. They'd run and gun. That was a completely different style than it was back in '69. But it was both groups are wonderful to watch. Both teams my senior year we went state. We got beat by Aurora East up in the first round, and Kent's group got beat in the super sectional by East St. Louis. All those teams with Troy Hughes and Jamar Sanders, which East St. Louis beat us 3 or 4 times over there. Those are all good memories. Standing in line all night for tickets. Charlie Kite used to own the Dairy Queen. We'd have competition who was going to be first in line. Well, I'd have my wife listen to the radio. We'd be at a ball game, and as soon as the game was over, she'd go get in line for me. I got back to town so I could get in line. And those are good memories.
Well, and so much great basketball and so many great sports have happened at Mount Vernon Township High School over the past 100-plus years. And, of course, the Hall of Fame itself was a brilliant idea, and including Friends, I think, of the Hall of Fame is absolutely brilliant as well. Guys like yourself and Ron Marlowe who are well-deserving of the accolades and devote yourself to Ram athletics over the course of so many different sports. And you know, you keep the scorebook, of course, for Rams basketball, and you've seen so many great moments. But I also understand you kind of keep the record book and some of the all-time stats for the Mount Vernon Rams basketball team as well.
Well, I don't know how long ago it's been now, but Brad Williams, Kent Williams' dad, gave Ron a partial deal of record book, and Ron kind of passed it around. And I noticed there wasn't anything on there on three-pointers. That nothing been done to that. What was there, there's a lot of books missing. The whole Lee Emery era, all his books are gone. And that's when the three-point started, when Lee Emery came to Mount Vernon. And I ended up day after day after day at the library going through microfilm and going through the box stores and stuff to pick up on 3 points, which Greg Hampton was the sports writer back then. And he done a good job of box scores in the paper. And I brought all that up to date and got that on the record book. But there was a couple of deals went in the paper that give somebody credit for the record book. And the guy that was doing it, putting it on a computer, he got upset because he wasn't mentioned, and he quit doing it. And we thought he had a password where he couldn't get into it. So it sat about 3 or 4 years. Nobody had anything to it. He just sat dormant. And I got to play on a computer one day, and I found there wasn't it was just a spreadsheet. So I caught it up to date, and I've been doing it the last 5, 6 years to keep it going. But that's the story of the record book.
Nice. Of course, every week here on the Saturday Sports Show, we wrap up every interview, go a little off topic, and have our social media question of the week. And this year we tried to keep it simple since we're going over so many memories with all of our Hall of Famers. We want to know, what was your favorite song in high school?
It was a song by Jay and the Americans called This Magic Moment.
Nice. That one makes a lot of movie soundtracks. It's a good song. Hear it on AM 940 a lot.
That was mine. My wife's song was dating.
Nice. See, an even better memory. Sometimes the better memories are off of the court or off of the gridiron. But Randy, you've seen so many games. You have so many great memories. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk to you about those memories, whether it's before a game or after a game. But I appreciate your memories, and I appreciate some of the stories you've shared, just because without them, especially on a day like today, being young enough to not remember most of what's going on today, without those, I'd be totally lost. So your conversations have helped me immensely prepare for today's show, and I want to congratulate you again for going into the Hall of Fame class of 2014. I
appreciate that, and it's quite an honor. I went in the Illinois Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame last year, and I'm more honored with the hometown. And that up there in Bloomington was like, it wasn't personal. It was just like one of the slaughterhouse, just lined up. You go through and they hand you your plaque, and it's just not very personal. But this is really an honor, and I really appreciate this. And I'll cherish this the rest of my life.
Amen to that. It's definitely a great honor, and Randy, you deserve it. Thank you for taking the time to join me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Randy Oldo, of course, a friend of basketball, and probably a best friend of basketball with all of the, or a friend of athletics, I should say, and probably a best friend with all that he does for the athletic programs at Mount Vernon Township High School. He's a member of the 2014 Hall of Fame class. So is our next member. He goes in as a coach of a team. 1988-89 Rams track. We'll talk to Bruce Payne after the break here on the Saturday Sports Show. Presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're here till 11.
This is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. Imagine this. You're driving down the road. It's dark as can be outside. Thank goodness you just had that left headlight bulb replaced. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. Now, close your eyes. Okay, don't close your eyes. You're supposed to be driving. Imagine noticing a slight twinkle off to the left, just above the ditch. What is that, you think to yourself? All of a sudden, whap! You've just encountered your first deer hit. The left side of your vehicle is beat up pretty bad. The next thing I want you to imagine is very simple. Picking up your phone and dialing 1-888-LANDERS to set up your repair. Deer claims are common, and usually a very simple process, which fall under comprehensive coverage. This is Chase Landers, asking you to allow Landers to be your collision repair shop of choice. Whether it be a deer hit, fender bender, or the regular, uh-oh, sorry mom, Landers is here for you whenever you need us. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. 1-888-LANDERS, that's 1-888-LANDERS.
America's best music and talk. AM 940 WMIX Mount Vernon, the Withers Broadcasting Station.
People's National Bank makes purchasing a home easy. Hi, this is Joy Schrader, mortgage specialist from People's National Bank. Visit peoplesnationalbank.com to fill out an online application 24/7, and you will be on your way to owning your own home. If you have any questions, give me, Joy Schrader, a call at 241-6928.
People's National Bank, your home for home loans. Proudly serving Southern Illinois since 1909. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Loans subject to credit approval.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX and WMIXSports.com is presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. And, of course, our next guest is another Hall of Famer, 2014 class. He is the head coach of the 1988-89 boys track team. He's Bruce Payne. Coach, good morning.
Good morning.
You know what? What a loaded track team that was. And it's not often we could talk about some of the what they call non-revenue sports and how loaded they are. But this was kind of the team that set the bar. Of course, the first to win a sectional title, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just looking through the pictures. And, I mean, I see people that I see on the streets of Mount Vernon today and had no idea that they were a part of such a legacy. But you had such a great and loaded team. You sent 13 to state.
Yes, we did. And then 3 of them are Hall of Famers on their own rights. And probably we have a few more that could very well join their ranks in the future.
Well, and of course, as I look at the roster, I saw some of the guys there last night, guys that I honestly did not know were part of the team, but I also saw some of your assistant coaching staff, and that in itself, I mean, you had a pretty good helping of assistants there with Rhonda Forrest, of course, who was still there when I went to high school, Sonny Ellis and Nick Whiteside. So not just your team, but your coaching staff.
Oh, I have an outstanding coaching staff. You know, Nick has earned a Hall of Fame on his exploits as a track athlete and cross-country runner on his own rights, and then to bring his experience from the University of Arkansas was a great blessing to the squad. And then Sonny Ellis and Rhonda Forrest, as you said, they were outstanding mentors. And I kind of used them as my mentors. They kind of brought me along. I was a young guy on staff, and I was the head coach, but we worked as a team together. So I never really felt that I was the head coach. I just felt that I was a part of that team, and I used their experiences to help me become better. And through the four of us working together, we had the great athletes, as you said, that allowed us to have the success that team had.
At what point did you know that you were in the midst of something great? Was it before the year even began, or was it at a certain meet that you knew things were going to be pretty good for the '89 track team?
Well, I think workouts. The kids got around along very well together, and they pushed themselves, and just I think. And we were strong in all areas. We had good distance runners, we had good sprinters, we had good field events, and we didn't really have any glaring weaknesses that, so I kind of think we kind of knew before the season that we had something a little special that season.
Well, and of course, you talked about some of the guys that are already in the Hall of Fame as individuals, but, and I know it would be nearly impossible in the time we have to name every person on that team off the top of your head. Who are some of your key role players on that special team?
As you know, we had Jason James at the jumps. We had Aaron Jones, that was a heck of a thrower for us, in the shot put in the discus. We had Jamar Sanders that helped with hurdles and relays. Michael Young was our top sprinter. And we had a stable of sprinters. We had Rashawn McGee and Truman Tucker and Maurice Jones and Jason James and Jamar Sanders both ran in our relays as well. And we had Gary Hammerstein, who was kind of a workhorse kid that really worked hard to get into the 4x4 relay for us. And we had Roy Nesbitt, who was a good hurdler. It was the first year to 300-meter hurdles, and each time he ran that event, he ran it faster, and he just continued to improve and ended up qualifying for the state track meet in the hurdles, and he was also on the relay team. So he was, we had and then we had in the distance runners, we had Kenny and Kerry Riley that were they helped us a lot, and we had Danny DeBoer and I know I'm missing out some names, and I apologize to those young men, but we had, like I said, we had depth throughout, and we had guys pushing each other. We had a young guy named Armando Settles that was a young guy that was pushing our older guys, and he to get a spot, trying to get a spot in the relays and run our sprints. So, it was an outstanding group of individuals.
Armando Settles, that's obviously one name I remember well. I bought many a pair of shoes off of Armando back in the day after he graduated high school and while he was in high school. But you take a look at some of these guys and the things that they went on to do, of course, in their professional lives now, of course, or in their athletic careers. But having coached track at Mount Vernon Township High School, is this the team that kind of led to the success they're having now today under Clint Turner?
Well, I'm sure, because Clint, he went to Mount Vernon High School, and he coached he was an athlete under Coach Sonny Ellis. And when I left, I think Clint came like a year or two later, and has been there ever since. So he's saying the same work ethic that we try to inspire. I'm sure he's still doing as well with adding to that. So, but yeah, I think that was probably the starting block, for the success of the track program there with this group of young men.
Of course, Coach, we do things a little differently sometimes here at WMIX and WMIX Sports. And one thing we do on the Saturday Sports Show every week to all of our guests, we ask our WMIX Sports social media question. It's off the sports topic, a little bit off the sports trail sometimes. This week, since it's kind of a focal point, we're talking about memories and going back in time with everybody. We're asking all of our guests and anybody on Facebook and Twitter, we're asking what was your favorite song in high school?
Oh, back when I was in high school.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I don't know if I remember back that far, but it was probably Smoke on the Water.
Nice. What I love about this is we have so many different eras, and of course getting so many songs and so many different answers, and that's a good one. And Smoke on the Water, probably one of the, as far as guitar work, of course, definitely a great song. And you had a brilliant track team and a great coaching legacy now as 88-89 track goes in the Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame tonight. Coach, we thank you for taking the time to join us today on the Saturday Sports Show. Congratulations, and look forward to tonight.
Well, I do too. I look forward to seeing you tonight. Thank you very much.
Amen. Coach Bruce Payne, of course, 1988-89 Rams track team. And you know what? And Sonny Ellis, of course, definitely a Hall of Famer. Has been in the Hall of Fame multiple times already, and, of course, went in as an individual as well in 2009 and got to see his speech. And he had such an impact on athletics at that high school. And then, of course, you have Coach Payne and the legacy that's going to be left with this track team. And then you take a look, you kind of start to forward the clock a little bit now into the Clint Turner era, and you see what Coach Turner has done with cross country and track. And then on the women's side, you have Connie Hari-Blair, who does an incredible job as well. And I think people, of course, when they focus on basketball and sometimes lose sight of the fact of the talent that has come through and done great things at MVTHS. And, we look at wrestling as well under Scott Tickner and now under Sean Doherty, having Tristan Penrod and Chase Vosberg represent Mount Vernon Township High School very, very well at the state individual tournament this weekend in Champaign, and congratulations to their accomplishments as well. We need to take a break on the Saturday Sports Show. When we come back, we'll actually talk with Eddie King. You want to talk some basketball history. Eddie King, of course, a two-time state champion. We'll talk with Eddie King after the break here on the Saturday Sports Show. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be.
I'm Randy Owen. Join me each week as I play 5 decades of great country music and tell stories about a lot of my friends and heroes. Folks like Conway Twitty, Charlie Pride, George Jones, Dolly Parton, and of course Merle Haggard. We may even play some Alabama. Join me, Randy Owen, for Country Gold, Sunday nights at 6 on 94.1 WMIX.
Here's Jeff Schmidt for Schmidt Chevrolet of Mount Vernon.
Chevy Impala is winning over luxury import buyers because of its ride and handling. We offer lease incentives that make the Impala more affordable than ever, with a 2-year, 24,000-mile maintenance plan absolutely free. We have a great selection at Schmidt Chevrolet and will continue to be the leader in the area because we offer the most competitive pricing and highest trade-in value. That's why no one can touch our deals.
Schmidt Chevrolet of Mount Vernon, 3423 Broadway in Mount Vernon.
America is a nation on wheels. Everyone has at least one automobile. We use them for shopping, work, everything we do. But they can be a threat. Some accidents can't be prevented. Your professional Pekin Insurance Agency, Page Insurance on Crownview in Mount Vernon, can help protect you from a large financial loss when an accident happens. Call Page Insurance today at 242-7000 about low-cost auto insurance from Pekin Insurance. Ask them about the many money-saving discounts that are available. Depend on your hometown professionals.
Pekin Insurance.
And we're welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Chris Hugo with you today. Danny Zerwinski is on assignment. We are presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Of course, we're talking with the inductees of the Mount Vernon Township High School Sports Hall of Fame. Class of 2014 goes in tonight at Chagnon Gymnasium. And a gentleman that was able to play in Chagnon and bring home a couple of state titles was Eddie King, who played alongside Max Hooper on the 49 and 50 teams. We welcome Eddie King to the program. Sir, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
You know what? It's a great morning. We get to talk Mount Vernon Rams basketball, Mount Vernon Rams sports here on WMIX today, of course, as part of the Hall of Fame program. And, a lot of the ink in 1949 and 1950 went to Max Hooper, and of course, but those two teams, state champions, but lost a combined 3 games in those 2 years, I believe, and definitely set the tone, I think, even with the 1920 squad already having won, but set the tone for Mount Vernon Rams basketball heading into the future. How did it feel to win 2 state titles? Many people won't ever win one in their lifetime, but you were able to win 2.
Well, it was really interesting because so much of the work went out with Coach Chagnon. He understood how to coach young men, and he knew how to put it together. And I remember after we won the first in 1949, after we won, and we had a banquet afterwards, and he got a sports writer from Chicago to come down and say, anybody can win a game, a sports feat like that. He said, championship. But, if you're really a champion, you need to repeat. And that's the question is, can you repeat? He was planting the seed, of course, our junior year. And by the time we were seniors, we were probably in better shape than anybody because we worked all summer long and kept in great shape. And anyway, to make the long story short, we came back and, everybody was laying for us because, we had been the former champions. And So we had a lot of, interesting games, but we persevered. And I can remember when we won the state championship and came back to Mount Vernon, the coach got up and he said, well, you sent us up to Champaign to bring back the bacon, and we brought back the whole hog. And so it was really fun because we had no idea how important it was until after we did it, and realized that it was special, and we still thrive on it today. And Max has done a great job of keeping us organized, and we have our class reunions, and so we've been really blessed. And the neat thing about it, it's still the same building we played in, the same gymnasium, the Shagnon Gymnasium. So I know things are going to change there in Mount Vernon pretty soon, but it's great to come back there and really enjoy it. I'm so sorry I won't be able to be there tonight for the awards. But anyway, to answer your question real quickly, it was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life. And as I say, the second biggest, I think, joy that I ever had was winning that. The first joy, in case you wonder about it, was marrying the wonderful woman I married and having 5 great children. So anyway, it was a real blessing, and I'm always glad to get back to Mount Vernon.
Have you been able to get back and see Rams basketball and how it's developed since your time?
Yes. In fact, I've come back. Well, I don't get back every year, but I get back at least, every 2 or 3 years I get back, and, the enthusiasm is still there in the old gym, and, I'm proud of what they're doing, and I know they're trying to get back to get the caliber of basketball that we had then, and I think they're going to do it.
Well, and then, of course, you went on to Bradley, and you excelled in college, and, of course, you guys played in your own national championship game up there. What did that mean to you, excelling up in college?
Well, I was so fortunate. Coach Shagnon was, as I say, a very wise man, and he said to us, you ought to look around and find a school that, would work for you. And I had never heard of Bradley University when I was in high school, or didn't know where Peoria was. And he drove us up there to Peoria from Mount Vernon. That's a long trip. In those days, there wasn't any 4-lane highways. And we went up there, and boy, we were so fortunate. Bradley had just made this big purchase of a new auditorium, and it seated 8,000 people. Before we had played, the biggest place we had played in was the Champaign Huff Gymnasium, which had about 4,000. And I remember walking into the field house up in Bradley and Peoria and thinking, wow, this would be a great place to go to school. And that was probably the most important decision I made as a young man. I'm glad I went to where I did go, and Bradley was very good to me, and still is. I still teach a class there at Bradley, a freshman class every fall, and I started in 1950 and still going strong.
And of course, Coach, every week on the Saturday Sports Show, we take things a little off topic for our last question. It's our question of the week, just to kind of go a little lighthearted, go off topic, and since we're sharing so many memories, we're asking each guest what was their favorite song in high school. So we want to know, what was Eddie King's favorite song in high school?
Oh, well, that's a good one. I think it was probably the one that caught my attention, and it was years ago, was Bing Crosby's song "Going My Way."
Nice.
that was really important to be able to have that philosophy that I was going to go my way.
And that song's still a staple on AM 940 to this day, and we appreciate we appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know you're a busy man, but it's always great to be able to sit down with all of our Hall of Famers, and I appreciate the time you've taken this morning, and we congratulate you on your induction.
So thank you very much. It's a privilege to be, going back to Mount Vernon and all my good memories. So God bless all you people, and I wish I could be with you, but I'll get there as soon as I can.
Amen to that. God bless you too, sir. Thank you again.
Thank you.
That is Eddie King, of course. State champion, 1949 and 1950, alongside Max Hooper and company. And it's always be able to it's always great to be able to go back and relive some memories, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Our next guest, of course, excelled on the track. He is Steve Lively, and I'll tell you what, seeing him last night looked like he could still go out and run a track and field record for the 440, and just an incredible athlete from looking at him last night. We'll talk to him next on the Saturday Sports Show. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. We're back after these.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
High school sports are back, and your source for scores is WMIXsports.com. Also, find archived local sports broadcasts, video highlights, national sports headlines, and more right at your fingertips. Listen and watch live WMIX sports broadcasts from your desktop or any mobile device. Need a score? Want to see a sick dunk? Miss a game? Didn't get up in time for the Saturday sports show? That's right, it's all at WMIXsports.com. Another free service from Withers Broadcasting, WMIXsports.com.
I'm Jeremy Pearson with a look at your next rad weather. We'll see sunshine giving way to clouds throughout today. It will be on the milder side, high 60. Mostly cloudy with spotty rain shower tonight, then perhaps a snow shower later on, low 32. Mostly cloudy and cooler tomorrow with a rain or snow shower, high 42. And Monday's looking mostly cloudy and a bit cooler, high 41. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXsports.com. Still working to catch up with the flea. Sometimes fleas are hard to catch, and Steve Lively, of course, that was his nickname because of his sprinting ability. 4-year letter winner in track and field and a 2-year letter winner in football. He holds the school record in both the 440 and the 100-yard dash. He ran an incredible 10.7 seconds. Unbelievable. Of course, he was a conference champ in the 100, the 440, and the 220 his senior year, and his track teams won 4 consecutive South 7 Conference champions. Of course, we talked about the track team of 88, 89, and mentioned, of course, them kind of putting track on the map. And, of course, winning South 7 Conference track titles is no easy feat. And then, of course, Steve went on to Southern Illinois University Carbondale on a track scholarship and lettered all 4 years. He qualified for the championships of the NCAA in 1977 and was also an Illinois collegiate champion in the 440 that same year. And, of course, he currently lives in Carterville, so he's still in Southern Illinois. And we'll still work to catch up with him on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week this week, of course. Favorite song in high school? You can participate in the discussion. We want to know what your favorite song is, so check in with us on Facebook, facebook.com/WMIX Sports, or hit us up on Twitter at WMIX Sports. Of course, social media question. What was your favorite song in high school? We told you our answers, and by our, I mean the entity. DC is on assignment today, actually has the day off, and sometimes you plan well and sometimes you don't plan well. And, of course, we had planned some events, of course, and we're unable to catch up with Steve Lively. We apologize. But sometimes you plan well and sometimes you don't plan well. And we had both planned some events today, and then we realized, oh, no, it's Hall of Fame Day. And so here we are. Here I am in studio with you today. Of course, Quentin Lloyd is working hard, catching up with our guests this morning. Avery Barton did a great job of confirming everybody. Just seemed to be having some issues with catching up with some of our guests, and we apologize with that. We know we had Steve Lively confirmed, but sometimes things come up with live radio, and we appreciate him for talking to us earlier in the week. And you take a look at some of the track stars over time, and Steve Lively, of course, probably going to go down as one of the biggest stars in Mount Vernon track history. And, of course, he went on a full scholarship to SIU Carbondale and is now a member of the 2014 Hall of Fame class. And I think that any time that you can go into your school's Hall of Fame, you've done something pretty good. And Mount Vernon Township High School and getting this started, and, of course, for the Hall of Fame committee, I know Jeremy Hall was a big part of it in the beginning. But any time that you can go into that, of course, you're doing something great. And so we'll work at getting all of our guests caught up for the rest of the day. So we'll see what happens here. WMIX Sports Show is presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. Of course, it's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. 27 minutes past the 10 o'clock hour. We have more guests to come. Of course, we're going to catch up with Susie Woodward Maynard. Of course, she is one of the high-scoring Lady Rams basketball stars of all time. We also have Gary Jones, the class of 65, coming up a little bit later on the Saturday Sports Show. So all of that and more. We're here until 11 o'clock. We'll take a quick break and come back and get you set. We'll see what's going on here after the break. Maybe Steve Lively? We'll find out. Stay tuned.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Paul Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. Welcome our next guest to the program. He is Steve Lively. He was better known as the Flea in high school. Steve, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
You know, doing pretty good. I know you're a busy guy, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. But my first question has to be, is there a sprint record that you don't hold at Mount Vernon Township High School?
Yeah, there's a lot of them there I don't know, but just fortunate enough to still have a few of them.
Well, and of course, we talked a little bit earlier on the show. You have the record in the 440, 100-yard dash. Both of those still stand. But I think the impressive fact is you won a conference championship your senior year in the 100, the 440, and the 220. But the teams won 4 consecutive South 7 titles from 72 to 75. That's incredible.
Yeah, I tell you what, we just had a great group of guys there, and everybody just like one big family. We all worked together, worked real hard at it, and we were able to do that.
Well, and of course, in doing so, you earned yourself a scholarship to SIU Carbondale. You didn't just excel in high school, you excelled at Southern as well, and you qualified for the NCAA championships in 77, but were also the Illinois Collegiate Champion in the 440 that year. That's an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was fortunate to be able to run down to Southern. Like I said, they had a heck of a program back then in track and field, and we just worked real hard and put forth quite a bit of effort, and it's paid some dividends. But yeah, it was really nice to be able to win that 400 in high school. I didn't win the state meet, but I was able to come back and do so in college, so it's pretty neat.
Well, and it's always neat. Of course, we talked earlier with Bruce Payne, head coach of 88-89 track, and talked about how that team maybe set the bar as far as a sectional championship was concerned. But winning South 7 Conference titles is no easy feat in track and field, and now you add Cahokia to the mix, of course, a perennial state title contender in track and field. But back then, track was no slouch as well, and you ran against some tough competition.
Yeah, we did. We had there were some really good teams. Like I said, Trey had dominated that for years prior to that, and we just wanted to try to get something going there, and like I said, it had some really good teams since then. So, but anyway, like I said, give a lot of credit to Sonny Ellis. He did a great job, and just a heck of a coach.
Well, and a lot of people may not realize this. Sonny may be one of the more honored Hall of Famers, going in multiple times as part of multiple teams, and when that happens, that usually means a guy has dedicated himself, and he dedicated himself to quite a few programs, and it seems like anybody that went through track and field that was touched by Sonny Ellis, I know Clint Turner was coached by Sonny. He's now the head coach of Rams track and field as well as cross country. Sonny Ellis was a heck of a coach at all levels, all sports.
He was. He really, really was. He started off, I remember my brother graduated in 69 from high school, and he was the fastest back then in 69, and Sonny was coach then, and so when I came up through high school, I kind of felt like I knew him a little bit by being at all the meets and stuff at a younger age, and but he did. He had some some really, really great athletes through our time, and then since then he's had some outstanding athletes.
Of course, you were given the nickname The Flea, and I understand the thought process behind it, but tell us the story of how you got that nickname.
Well, I was always a little guy, a little smaller than the rest of them. 5'7" is not real big when you're in high school, and probably in sophomore football, Bob Arnold started calling me that. I played football and everything with him, so he started calling me that, and it kind of stuck, and that's kind of what everybody knew me by the rest of the high school, and even all through college. That's what coach called me in college.
Do you have anybody ever come in and try to buy a car and say, hey, I want the Flea? Does it still stick?
You know what? I've had a couple people come in and say, hey, Gary Mann from Mount Vernon, he and Lisa have bought several cars from me, And, you know, if somebody comes in and says that, I know they've been talking to somebody up in Mount Vernon.
See, that's not such a bad thing to have a legacy like that. And we congratulate you, obviously, on your induction in the 2014 Hall of Fame. But we do things a little differently sometimes up here. And every week on the Saturday Sports Show, we wrap all of our interviews with what we call the WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week. Sometimes we take it away from the sports side of things a little bit and try to just be a little laid back. And so this week, since we're sharing so many memories of high school, we want to know what your favorite song was in high school.
Oh, my goodness. Favorite song in high school? Probably some REO song.
Nice.
REO Speedwagon, I would say. I couldn't tell you exactly maybe what it was, but that's been my favorite group for a long time. It's hard to say which one. We almost had them, believe it or not. We picked a group over REO for my junior-senior prom, if you can believe that.
Wow.
So anyway, yeah, that would be something with REO Speedwagon, probably.
You gave us an artist. That is good enough for us. We just like to kind of pick people's minds and go a little pop culture sometimes. And obviously a big accomplishment getting into the MVTHS Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations on your induction.
Thank you very much. I sure appreciate it. Looking forward to tonight.
Amen. Appreciate your time, Steve Lively. Of course, he is a Hall of Famer, class of 2014. Excelled on the track, and of course we told you how. And Bob Arnold, of course, we had him on a few years back, of course, on the Hall of Fame show when he went in and with the team, and had him on again when we were talking about one of the fundraising golf outing, I believe it was. And what a character Bob Arnold is. And to hear the story behind the flea and to know that people actually will walk in to his place of business where he sells automobiles and ask for the flea. That's awesome. Of course, we have plenty more coming on the Saturday Sports Show. Our next guest helped set the bar for Lady Rams basketball. And, of course, by that, we're talking about Susie Woodward, now goes by Susie Maynard, her married name. Played for Coach Sarah Rennie. And, of course, Sarah Rennie probably, in terms of girls' athletics, does not get the credit she deserves for some of the accomplishments and strides that she has made along the way to help get girls' sports to the forefront. So we'll talk with Susie Woodward Maynard after the break here on the Saturday Sports Show. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Back after the break.
This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Wilt. I want to thank Mount Vernon and the surrounding area for continuing to support us over the past 5 years. If you have never sat down with someone to go over your insurance program, let me invite you into our office. Let us show you what working with the industry leader, represented by a local agent, can do for you. I'm located just off 42nd Street. You can reach our office 24 hours a day at 242-1421 or on the web at tonywilt.com. Thanks again, and go Rams.
I'm Chad Baker for the Southern Illinois Insider. Join me every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. If you loved our old inquiry report, you'll love the Southern Illinois Insider. We'll talk with newsmakers as well as event shakers throughout the area, whether it be some more insight on a newsworthy item or giving you something to do on your weekends. It's all happening on the Southern Illinois Insider, Sundays at 11 on AM 940 and 94.1 FM WMIX.
Mount Vernon is home to many wonderful people and things, and that includes quality cardiac care from Dr. Ruzaik Ibrahim. A skilled cardiologist, Dr. Ibrahim's training and scientific accomplishments have earned his designation as a Fellow of the American College of Cardiology. His services range from preventative care to the treatment of advanced heart conditions. For an appointment with Dr. Ibrahim at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 241-9071 or visit in person at 4113 South Water Tower, Mount Vernon.
I'm Jeremy Pearson with a look at your next round weather. We'll see sunshine giving way to clouds throughout today. It will be on the milder side, high 60. Mostly cloudy with spotty rain shower tonight, then perhaps a snow shower later on, low 32. Mostly cloudy and cooler tomorrow with a rain or snow shower, high 42. And Monday's looking mostly cloudy and a bit cooler, high 41. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX and WMIXSports.com, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Chris Hugo with you in studio. Danny Zerwinski on assignment. So by myself today. Hope you're enjoying today's program as we stroll down memory lane with the MVTHS class of 2014. Of course, the Hall of Fame inductees that go in tonight at Shagnon Gymnasium. Our next guest really needs no introduction. She still holds the school record. Not just girls, a school record for having scored 50 points in a game. The next best is Kent Williams with 49 against Carbondale. back in the late 90s. She is Susie Woodward, now known as Susie Maynard. Susie, good morning.
Good morning.
You have kind of a track record that speaks for itself in terms of Lady Rams basketball, whom I don't feel like gets a lot of credit for being one of the premier women's basketball programs in the entire state. But you were a 4-year letter winner with 1,369 points with no three-point line. That is what we call an incredible career.
Thank you.
And I mean, to have a basketball career like that, and you didn't even just do basketball, you did softball and cross country as well. How do you feel right now to be recognized for those accomplishments and go into the Hall of Fame at your alma mater?
You know what? It's hard to believe. I mean, it's, when you're in high school and you're playing and just playing for fun, having a good time, hanging out with your friends, and all of a sudden not all of a sudden, but 30 years later to be honored like this it's an amazing honor.
And of course, you went into the Rend Lake College Hall of Fame, I'm not mistaken, right around 2000 or so. Does this mean a little bit more to be recognized by MVTHS? I know you're scoring-wise, you had a very similar career at Rend Lake, I think 1,300 points there too. Does it mean a little bit more to be honored here by MVTHS?
Oh, yeah. Your high school is always kind of the core of who you are and what you are. And, it's hometown. So as much as the Rend Lake honor meant to me, I spent 4 years in Mount Vernon as a high school player. My sister played basketball here. It was just, it's a bigger honor, and definitely it's more, closer to home.
Well, and another one that had to be instrumental in your career was Coach Sarah Rennie, whom I've always thought doesn't quite get the credit she deserves for everything she's done for girls' sports. Obviously, her basketball track record speaks for itself. She coached softball as well and was very successful there. But Coach Rennie had to have been a great influence on your career as well.
Right. The interesting thing is back then, we were so new into girls' athletics, and we didn't have the AAU teams. We didn't start playing in elementary school. Some of us had played in junior high, but for a lot of us, Miss Rennie was the only coach that we knew at that time, and so what we learned and knew about basketball, we learned from her. And I think that she was a great champion for girls' athletics. Starting then, whether it's just at the time fighting for us to get practice time and the big gym instead of the girls' gymnasium. Little, I'll say slights. I don't know that, we knew any better at the time, but just little things that she did to make sure that we had, the same opportunities as the boys' teams did.
How important was it, do you think, for you guys to be so successful early on to set the tone for women's basketball to explode at Mount Vernon?
Well, I think it was. At the time, I don't think we knew any better. We had just a group of girls who loved to play sports and loved to play basketball. We were fortunate that we had some talent, but we worked hard at it as well. But to win like we did and win in the postseason like we did several years, I think that that was big to set the stage and set the standards for other teams to follow.
Well, do you have in particular, is there a favorite Mount Vernon Lady Ram memory that you have on the floor?
The best memory for me has to be my sophomore year when we played in super sectional games against East St. Louis Lincoln. Jackie Joyner, Kirsty now, but Jackie Joyner at the time was on that team, and that team went on to win the state championship. But just to win in that postseason and make it to the super sectional was so much fun.
Well, and again, it seems like that it's your teams that help set the tone for the Lady Rams team, because Coach Rennie went on to obviously amazing success. You went on to great success collegiately, ended up with, I believe, a full ride to Eastern Washington, which doesn't get a lot of ink around here, but actually has pretty solid athletics, especially women's basketball, football. They've done well back then on Division I AA, I believe. Came into Southern Illinois and got a big win a few years ago football-wise, but you went on to great things. And, to be able to go into this Hall of Fame, and I imagine you have to feel great today coming back.
You know what it is? It's, it is such an honor, and, it's just hard to believe. Like I said, I was fortunate to play with some really great players, too. And, when we went into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago as a team, that was a lot of fun. So, you obviously don't have success like this. And for the points like I was able to do on my own, we played a fast-paced offense, and there were people in there getting the rebounds and getting, steals, and So there were a lot of things that went into it, and to score those type of points, and my teammates were a big part of that.
Well, no doubt about that. And, of course, every interview here on the Saturday Sports Show, sometimes we do things a bit differently. We ask what's called our social media question of the week for our Facebook and Twitter followers, as well as our guests every week. This week, since we're sharing so many high school memories, we want to know what your favorite song was in high school.
Oh, my gosh. Well, Journey was probably my favorite band. No, you know what? I'm going to say Supertramp.
Nice.
The Breakfast in America album, The Logical Song.
The Logical Song. That's a good album.
Yeah, I think that's the name of it, The Logical.
If not, I'll make sure it's put up there properly on social media.
Don't make me look dumb.
Never. That is never our intent. Hall of Famers, we are proud to do what we can to make the Hall of Famers look the very best. If you don't make the Hall of Fame, you're on your own. But since you're in the Hall of Fame, we'll take great care of you. Susie, we appreciate the time today. Congratulations on this big honor, and thank you for being part of what helps set the bar for girls basketball locally, because without Coach Rennie's teams and her success, WMIX is unable to be able to find the sponsors to help be able to broadcast so many Lady Rams basketball games, but now be able to broadcast the county teams as well. It's because of people like you and Coach Rennie that we're able to do that now. So I thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Susie Woodward, better known now as Susie Maynard. Of course, we appreciate her for taking the time with us today. One more guest. We're here until 11 o'clock, of course, on your Hall of Fame show, and I mean that. Without Coach Rennie, without players like Susie Woodward, and, of course, those sectional teams, and then, of course, you could go through and not have enough time to name all of the great teams that Coach Rennie had, and now as Jeff Lonnon takes over as well. But I seriously mean that. If not for the success early and leading to the future success, you don't see the girls' basketball coverage that you see now here locally. And you don't see the rise of girls' athletics like you do. And I don't think that is said often enough for everything that people like that have done. And, Rashida Love went in the Hall of Fame a few years ago. She's another that, really helped power some of those high-octane teams. But off of that soapbox for a while, we come back, we talk to another top 10 scorer in Rams basketball history. He is Gary Jones. He's coming up after the break here on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be.
Take the plunge for Special Olympics Illinois on Saturday, March 1st. It's the annual Law Enforcement Torch Run Polar Plunge, presented by Geico at Red Lake in Benton. Plunge alone, with a team, or make an online donation to support a plunger. Register or support a plunger at plungeillinois.com. That's plungeillinois.com. Or call 618-383-4400. Sponsored by your favorite Withers Broadcasting and Data Communications stations.
Hi, this is Joe Davey Cummins, President of Community First Bank. Now is a great time to move your account to Community First Bank. With our new One account offering the highest interest rate in the market, free checking, and CD specials delivered by people you know and trust, why would you not bank with the market leader in Jefferson County? We offer 5 locations with 7 ATMs and have been serving the Jefferson County market since 1906. Stop in and see why our bank is the fastest growing bank in Jefferson County. Community First Bank. Welcome back to Personal Banking. Member FDIC.
The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. It's powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Stay tuned for the 11 o'clock news coming up at the top of the hour, just a little bit after, as I plan to get as much time as I can out of our next guest. He's from the class of 1965. He ranks in the top 10, I believe number 7 all-time in Mount Vernon Rams basketball history with over 1,200 points. He's Gary Jones. Gary, good morning. I believe we have Gary Jones. Gary, good morning. Uh-oh. We will have to try to get Gary Jones back here on the Saturday Sports Show. WMIX, WMIXSports.com, here until 11 o'clock. I must have accidentally hung up on him. I apologize. I hate to do that to a Hall of Famer. And, of course, we talk about that. And, of course, for those who may be tuned in from the FM wondering what's up, we're actually doing some maintenance due to storm damage. So 94.1 FM, not currently on the air right now. We apologize for the difficulties there, but we're here on AM 940, of course, today on the Saturday Sports Show. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. As said, it's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be, as we're going to try to catch up with Gary Jones. Of course, he had a stellar basketball career, 3-year starter, leading scorer both his sophomore and senior seasons. But the question I'm kind of curious about is something that's somewhat underrated, and you're not going to hear about it now unless they go back, but he made the first team all-tournament team at the Centralia Holiday Tournament. I mean, you're looking at guys like Tim Hardaway, Antoine Walker, Donovan McNabb in recent memory who have made the first team. Kent Williams, Ty Moss, just going back to recent memory. Justin Sims from Alton, if you're wanting to go even more recent, of course. But made the all-tournament team, the first team. And, of course, we're going to talk with him here on the Saturday Sports Show. I believe now we have Gary Jones, Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Famer. Gary, good morning.
Good morning.
I was telling our listeners before we were able to catch up with you, and one question I was kind of curious about as you're going into the Hall of Fame tonight, you are not only top 10 all-time in scoring, I believe you're number 7 with over 1,200 points. The question I most was wanting to ask was, how did it feel to make the all-tournament first team at the Centralia Holiday Tournament? Because that is no small feat. And when you look at some of the list of NBA stars who have been on that all-tournament team over the years, that's a heck of an accomplishment.
Well, it was really, really great. We had a good team that year, and it was just an effort of all the players, playing together, and it really was a prestigious honor to be selected on the team.
Well, and then, of course, you had a lot of success. You were also first team All-South 7. You end up going to school at a JUCO in, I believe, northeastern Oklahoma A&M, and then transferred to Nichols State University your final 2 seasons. You started all 4 years. You had a pretty good career. Obviously, you're getting recognized now for your high school achievements. How does it feel to be recognized and go into the MVTHS Hall of Fame?
Well, it's a real honor to be selected. Mount Vernon has had a history of good basketball teams and great players that have come out of here, and it's just an honor to be selected as one of those that they recognize from the past years.
Well, growing up with Mount Vernon basketball, obviously, kids always dream about those that are imagine to be those, that were in their generation or they grew up watching. And, I talked to one of our guests earlier, Tim Holloway. He was one of those guys for me. But growing up in the class of 65, you had a very talented crew surrounding you. Mount Vernon basketball has always been great, but, from the time period of the late 40s into the 60s and early 70s, Rams basketball was loaded. Very good.
Yes, it was. And, it was just a great time in those years because we had really great support from the local community. They backed us, the fans at the school. The gym was packed. Every home game that you had standing room only. You couldn't squeeze another 2 or 3 people in there if you had to. It just was great. We just enjoyed those years of playing for the Mount Vernon Rams.
What is your favorite Rams basketball memory? Having so many accomplishments, so many wins along the way, is there anything that sticks out more than any other in your career?
I would imagine probably being able to go to the Sweet 16 because, with all the history the school had, we hadn't accomplished that in quite a few years, and we always looked up to the 49 and 50 teams, that went back-to-back on winning the state championship, and for us to get to the Sweet 16 back in those days when there was only one, class of schools, it was a great accomplishment for us to do.
Yeah, and I don't think people think about it these days because Illinois now 4 classes, went to 2 classes in 72. One class back then meant in a super sectional you might see the Pinckneyville Panthers or the Oakville Rockets later on, or some of these schools that you wouldn't have a chance to see today. That's when basketball was basketball. You had to go mano-a-mano, and the best teams made it to Champaign at the time. A heck of an accomplishment to get to a super sectional back then.
Yes, it was. I remember back after we had graduated, the Apple Knockers, which had a school had a class. Probably the school itself had less than 200 students, and they finished second in the state. So that, to be in that era, it was really great to be, a top 16 team.
Well, and it was, and you take a look at a team like Ridgeway that eventually made it up there under Bob Dallas, and teams like that excelled, and the odds stacked against them. But Mount Vernon in those days seen as a basketball giant, a basketball power, and I know most of our guests today, and actually all of our guests, haven't been all about the individual accomplishments or the individual accolades or having the spotlight, but to score 1,200 points at Mount Vernon and to do it before the three-point line, that's an incredible accomplishment in itself. How do you feel to still be in the top 10 of all-time scorers at Mount Vernon Township High School?
Well, I'm just amazed that I'm still in the top 10. I think when I graduated, I'm not really sure what, back in those days when you play in sports, you really don't look at your individual stats. I never was one to look at that. It was winning and losing was the main thing. And so, just to be in the top 10 now, it just amazes me with all the great athletes that they've had, after me. 49 years later, it's still number 7. And I feel real privileged to be up there with those great athletes.
And of course, talking about your career and talking about your youth, I mean, it's an honor and a tradition to be able to play in Shagnon Gymnasium, of course, and when it was built, obviously it wasn't named after Shagnon, and originally when FDR and the Works Progress Administration and everything happened with that. But is it one of those things where even back then kids grew up just wanting to play in that gym and wanting to play, for such a program like Mount Vernon basketball?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing that, my sophomore year, they moved us up from, we didn't play, there was about 3 or 4 of us that didn't play on the junior varsity team. They moved us directly to the varsity team, which was just amazing at that time, and to be able to play in that era was just fantastic.
Well, and then, of course, I mean, you think of that era, and you think of all the players who have come through that era that are now Hall of Famers, and obviously we congratulate you for going in tonight as part of the 2014 class. Our final question, sometimes, as I told everybody, we do things a bit differently here, and our final question is what we call the WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week. We reach out to our Facebook fans and our Twitter followers, and we ask an off-topic question. And with so many high school memories being shared, this week our question is regarding what was your favorite song in high school?
My favorite song? That is a good question. I really wouldn't know. Really, I wasn't much, on music back in those days. Most thing I concentrated on was playing basketball. That wasn't really the thing that I really remember a lot. But I couldn't really tell you.
Not a problem. We're just glad to have you today and be able to talk about your memories of being a star at Mount Vernon Township High School, and now, of course, the ultimate MVTHS honor, going in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, and we look forward to the induction ceremonies tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. That is Gary Jones, and, of course, number 7 all-time in MVTHS history in points. And, again, he did that before the three-point line. And I'm not trying to minimize any accomplishments after the three-point line in the mid to late 80s, I believe 87, 88. Not trying to minimize that at all, but to be able to do that, and you look at IHSA history, you look at Chico Vaughn, and at the top, and having as many points as he did at TAMS, and then to go on to do the same thing at Southern, and of course he left us within the past years. So it's incredible to think about all those that 1,000 point scorers who did it without the 3-point basket. That's just in itself is incredible. We hope you've enjoyed today's program, and it really is our favorite weekend here on the Saturday Sports Show. We get to go back in history, and every year you're left wondering, okay, they got this one, and this one. This guy made it this year, or that female athlete made it that year, or, she's going in this year, or she went in a couple of years ago, or, who do we still have to come? And you think about some of the legacies that are still out there. I think the next few years are still going to be very, very, very interesting. As the Hall of Fame committee, of course, is always stuck with having to make some difficult decisions, and there's still plenty out there that still have to be honored and go into the Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame, which is why they seek your advice. They seek your suggestions every year, the steering committee and the selection committee, when they ask you to submit your nominations for the Mount Vernon Township High School Hall of Fame. I mean, there's people right now. There's people in that high school right now that are going to be Hall of Famers someday. And Tim Holloway, of course, we talked about with him. He's going to go in as a coach someday. I mean, he's already nearing the 200-win plateau. He's already been to the state title or state finals in baseball. That's somebody that's going to get in. I mean, not done yet, of course. Coach Rennie, she's going to have to go in as an individual at some point. So, unless that's an oversight. I do overlook things from time to time, but all in all, we hope you enjoyed today's program. Of course, we'll get it on WMIXsports.com as soon as we can in our archives. 11 o'clock news will be coming your way here in just a moment, but today's show, as always, has been presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Run down our broadcast coverage right quick for this coming week. Monday and Wednesday, we'll have double headers on the FM as we are at the Christopher 1A Regional. It'll be the Wayne City Indians and the Waltonville Spartans at 6 on Monday. 8 o'clock will be Christopher Weber. Then in the semifinals on Wednesday, it'll be Woodlawn versus the Wayne City Waltonville winner at 6, and Sessler versus the Christopher Bluford winner at 8. Tuesday night, we have the Rams and the Effingham Hearts. You can listen to that game on 94.1 FM or watch it at WMIXsports.com. Hard to believe we have a day off on Thursday. And then on Friday, we have the Rams and the Orphans on the FM, WMIXsports.com for your video, or AM 940, we have the Christopher Regional Championship game, regardless of the participants in that one. And then the following week, it's just going to depend on who goes where. If we have a regional winner, we're going to try to follow the Christopher Regional winner to the sectional. And then, of course, on Tuesday the 4th, we'll have the Rams in their regional at Heron. So busy times getting ready to come before we kind of slow down a little bit, before Rams baseball and Lady Rams softball hit us here on WMIX. We appreciate all of you for tuning in today. Don't forget the social media questions still on Facebook and Twitter. What was your favorite song in high school? Give us your answer, Facebook.com/WMIX Sports. So glad to have had you on WMIX, WMIXsports.com. 11 o'clock news is next.